o'clock. Call to order. So this is the Nottingham Budget Committee, our meeting in December 28th, 7 p.m. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Sandra, could you start with introductions for the video?
Sandra Jones.
Robert Kelly.
Charlotte Fife.
John Moore.
John Decker.
Michael Kelly.
Brent Tweed.
Thomas Butkevich.
Jeffrey Morrison.
Our meeting minutes from the last meeting aren't available yet. So we're gonna skip that this week. And then public comment. I guess it's you, Jen.
It's me again. Good evening, Jen Phillips, Blaisdell Memorial Library trustee. I listened to one of the prior budget meetings on YouTube, and it appeared as though there were some questions about why the dramatic increase in the salary line, so I thought I'd provide a little bit of additional context there.
Let us find your lines in the.
Sure.
Wasn't it a separate paper though?
Separate or is it in here?
Yeah,
No, library is
It's in here,
351.
but it's,
Sorry, what is it?
351 is library, and then I think we did have one with a breakdown, like more
right,
specific.
from the first meeting.
Yeah, the operations budget is different. I think the questions were on the salary line.
Okay. Just give us a sec, I'll get there.
Sure.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So the short answer is we kind of fell out of step with increases, and that combined with a number of shifts during the pandemic with library directors, and that's a national issue, not just a New Hampshire issue, sent director salaries considerably higher. So the increase in that line has to do with bringing us back from a part-time director to a full-time director, and then also increases for the staff to bring them more in line with market rates.
Jen, am I correct that hours were actually decreased at the library?
Yes, in order to compensate for going from a full-time director and a full-time assistant director. So we had two full-time employees. When we lost one full-time employee and brought on a part-time employee, we had to reduce hours. So we shut the library completely on Sundays, and we reduced hours on Fridays.
And that's still the case.
Yes, that will be the case until we have a full-time director. The trustees have made that commitment to the staff. There's just not enough of them to adequately cover.
So the woman that we met is still just an interim director?
Yes, Amanda is the interim director.
It looks like the budget difference on this worksheet is increase of $43,098.
Correct.
Is the library gonna have extra, or back to regular hours, or is it gonna increase hours with
It
this?
depends on if we can find a full-time director. The salary increase would put us in the ballpark, I think, but there is still a shortage of qualified library directors. And so the question then becomes, is offering this full-time position at this salary enough to attract a qualified applicant? And obviously, we can't guarantee that. Amanda's doing a tremendous job as part-time director. She's extraordinarily talented and is willing to stay until we find that fit.
Is she interested in being a full-time director?
She is not interested in full-time hours, no.
I'm sorry, I know you've told us, but could you refresh my memory about the rest of the staff is paid hourly, is that correct?
Dan is full-time but hourly, so he's not, I don't know, I don't remember what the distinction is. But yeah, he's an hourly employee.
And were some of it's like, were they $14 an hour?
Yeah, we have two that are actually under $12 an hour. There are pages, and they're a tremendous help, but obviously they could make more money elsewhere. But most of the other employees are at the 14, 15, 16 level,
Oh, you said
What they could be earning at McDonald's.
roughly, yeah.
$14.50 an hour.
Yeah, or more importantly, it's less than they could be earning at other libraries. I mean, our biggest
That's-
competition are surrounding libraries. That's who we lost our prior director to.
Now, does, so full-time gets health care then?
Yes,
Okay, and part-time doesn't?
part-time do not receive benefits, no.
The benefits of part-time, okay. And then a pension, of course, for full-time?
I honestly don't know that. I don't know what the full-time benefit package is for the town, but I'm assuming any full-time employee would qualify for,
Right now, it's only if they feel they want to match into the 401K program at 6%, there is no pension.
okay, that.
And that's for any town employees, correct?
Full-time.
That's the-
No.
That's
Fire
for
and
full-time.
Full-time.
police. and-
Full-time employees, that's what I
Police and
meant.
fire are part of New Hampshire's
That's-
municipalities pension program. Regular town employees are not.
Right, that's what I meant, is regular town employees.
Yeah.
I thought there was gonna be a warrant article to try to change that this year.
There could be.
I wonder who's bringing that one up. We'll be able to find out who brings it up, right? Because I thought they changed the law where you can see who.
Absolutely.
You can always. We'll know who brings up.
Warrant article.
You've always been able to see them.
They won't put their name on the warrant article, they put in front.
They have
If you're gonna
to.
write
Yeah,
something.
it's public record who signs.
Right, yeah, but the town didn't used to
Yeah,
scan
they didn't
and
used to
post
do
them
that.
online.
Yeah.
That was a new thing.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know, happily know everybody that I know. But they
Is that
don't
when
wanna
you started
article.
submitting them?
All right.
Somebody asked for it.
Jen, would there be any chance of, maybe, if we do get a full-time director, that they would be able to raise some additional funds for the library, maybe through like selling on thrift books or Amazon or eBay, because I think the library has a lot of books that they have to cull off the shelves regularly.
So our culling process, any books that go through our cull are requisitioned over to the Friends, and the Friends sell those as part of the Friends book sale.
I have a question. This 29.2%, so part of that is the change, the desired change from a part-time director to a full-time director?
Correct.
Does that include the new benefits and stuff?
Benefits are calculated separately. This is, the number that we have online is salary only,
So where would the additional benefits and everything be?
somewhere in the town stuff.
Well, Ellen's not here. John, do you know if that's in the town budget or not?
Well,
I mean, we had
every
two
employee that's
full-time.
full-time that's taking any type of healthcare from us, dental from programs, is all in the line items.
Right, but this is this would be a new position essentially.
Well, so,
It's not. Well, if it's currently a part-time position and it
But
doesn't
it's-
have benefits,
It's a part-time interim position while they replace the full-time director who resigned and went somewhere else.
so currently it's a part-time position with no benefits.
but more importantly, it started this year as a full-time.
In the budget this
So
year.
it was in the budget this year. So if they're basing next year's budget on prior year budget number of employees, I would think that would
So
be
the budget is
transferred over.
showing a full-time director, because you're hoping you get one soon.
Well, I know last year we had a full-time director. She left in March, I think. My brain is scrambled. So this 2023, this fiscal year, the library is slotted with 2 full-time employees. Does that make sense?
Who's the other full-time employee?
Our assistant director, Dan.
So we have a full-time assistant director and a part-time director.
Right now.
So it looks like, I know this is an old worksheet, it's from 12/12. It looks like, the library budgeted 147,000 and change, we're at least 12, we're at 114. Is the library, other than not being open certain times, it seems like it's running okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
They do make it look seamless. So we did reduce hours. We had a couple of months without a director. There was one other reason. Oh, we closed for a week in August. We were trying to make sure that the staff had sufficient time off, and we didn't know, we had to make that decision before we had even a part-time director on, so. So there are reasons that we have not spent the totality of that. And it has to do with the way that we've managed the library without a full-time
Yeah,
director.
it's,
I've got a lot of
Seems great.
feedback about not being open all weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, what,
Working out to not be able to
why not be open on Sunday and Friday? Aren't those pretty popular days? I would think cutting hours in the morning when people are at work and school.
You are absolutely correct, but those were the only 2 days that we did not have programming, ongoing programming scheduled, so they were, quite frankly, the easiest for us to expunge. I mean, there are a lot of problems with it. It means that the library is pretty much only open when we have programming, which isn't ideal for people who want to use the library as a quiet space.
Why do you have to have programming to have the library be open? I know you said it was the easiest to cut the weekend hours, but it seems to me like more people in town would probably find it convenient to go to the library on the weekend.
Which is why we're still open on Saturday, and we have seen Saturday foot traffic edge up.
But your programming is.
Your programming is pretty core to what we do, yeah. Especially during the summer. Summer programming is all week.
Do you get a lot of kids coming in for programming during, say, 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon?
Well, we're not open until 10, but yeah, the story hours.
During the week?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
Lapsit,
children's, like
They be in the
pre-K.
school?
Like
Not when they're
pre-K,
little.
pre-kindergarten, little ones. Yeah.
Yeah, it's grown.
yeah.
I mean, I've noticed that it's jammed, there aren't enough parking spots
Yep.
when I go down there. Okay.
So the other half of the increase, I don't want to call it half if it's not half. Do you know what the breakdown is?
I do not.
The other portion of the increase, you said it was increasing hourly wages. Are those raises, are those already given out? Or is that something that, that's being put in the budget for approval?
Oh, you mean, are they already encumbered, or is this an addition?
I'm not sure about the definition of encumbered, but
I mean, we have provided
they've already been
some.
granted to people.
We have provided some people raises, yes, because generally speaking, we do it, their annual date of hire type of point. So those are dispersed throughout the year, and that's probably some of the difference in our current expenditures on that line. Because some people get raises later in the year and some of them get earlier in the year.
So do you do that out of the merit line?
We don't receive we're not part of the merit pool.
Okay.
Because we're weird. The library is separate.
So how much of the stuff that's hourly increases
I
is
don't-
stuff that's already been?
I don't have
encumbered?
that in front of me, I'm sorry. It's because some of it is, we've provided increases because we were underpaying people, quite frankly. And then we are looking at surrounding towns and what they're paying and saying, that's where we need to be, and some of that increase is that. So, in other words, some of it is, yes, they've been granted increases this year. Some of it is, we really need to give them more because those little increases aren't quite what they could be making at other libraries in the area. So, competitive and,
And so people can come here, come at basic, totally entry level, accept what we pay them, get some experience, get some training, and apply somewhere else. Is that what's happening?
yeah, I mean, that's kind of, that's what has happened with our directors, quite frankly. Several directors ago, it was his first directorship, and he's now at a much larger library. Then two more of them, this was their first directorships, and they've since left.
And the last director
Yes.
left for a neighboring town.
Right, and this was her first directorship. She had moved here from,
$10,000.
yeah, it was,
Right off.
yeah, right off,
I mean, I would love to see a full-time director because I think that continuity and what a full-time director brings in terms of writing grants and continuity and keeping staff is important and ultimately, to me, saves money.
How much money does the library get in grants?
I do not have that number. I know that we received one not too long ago for technology, a technology grant, but prior directors have not made a priority of applying for grants. You have to know what you're doing, and I don't.
Does Amanda have those skills?
Yes.
Ah, that's good. Because grants are one of the things that you really need to be able to do.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for all our departments,
Yeah.
heads need to have some grant writing skills.
So I'm sorry, break it down, it's this for 2 full-time people plus how many part-time?
Full-time 7, I think?
7 part-time?
Yes,
And 2 full-time,
yes.
thank you.
And I'll double check that when I get home, and if I'm off by 1, I'll let you know.
So if I go look at, on the town's budget, in like line 89 or so, we got like health insurance, and then 90 is like life insurance, and there's some other ones in there like FICA and stuff. So these lines, a lot of these have gone up. And health insurance is up 13%. So how much, do we know how much of that is the proposed hiring of a full-time librarian versus being
Chances
part-time?
are, and again, I could check with Betsy on this, chances are that since they did have a full-time employee as of last March, that the benefit package that we kept into this one was under the figuring that we are gonna have a full-time employee there. So we probably put it in as a line, added to that line item already, figuring that this is how many employees that we actually have, 20 in town. This is what, if they all take the insurance, this is what it is, this is what, you know, and it's based on that.
Okay, so these numbers are all factored on having a full-time library director.
Right.
Gotcha.
I'm not gonna say 100%, but I'm gonna say 90%, that I'm pretty sure
That's
that
a good
that's,
question, but I
It
think
is.
it's
lined in.
yeah.
Cause it'd be terrible for us not to, when we know we have a position,
Yeah,
that, not to think that we're gonna fill it and not have the money there available when we fill it. So I'm, be pretty.
And we've been super clear that this is a,
Yeah,
what
this-
we
this-
believe is a temporary
Really
situation.
here, the money here is basically is basically to get them in line so that our library is, you know, definitely not the highest paid people, but at least we're into the realm of when we do need to seek employment, that we are actually offering a competitive wage to what the other libraries are. This is why the budget is at the supposed number that it's at right now.
yeah, I understand
And when
that.
they hit that number, and if they don't find a director, well, then they're not paying for it, so that line item, obviously, we won't spend that money next year, but.
The average length of an opening is about 6 to 8 months.
Yeah. Well, so, because my obvious question there is that, you guys you took $200,000 out of the budget to meet the tax cap, and you said, like, there's no other way to reduce this without, firing people or reducing personnel. And it sounds like potentially here's a case where we could reduce the budget funding for a new part-time position that's currently for a new full-time position that's currently a part-time position, and we wouldn't be firing anybody, right? We'd have our part-time director. We would just not be hiring a full-time director.
I'm
And
not-
that would save us money out of the healthcare and the insurance lines.
I'm not speaking for the board fully, but I'll speak on my half of my discussions at the board. Employees in this town are now becoming a priority for us, because we know that retaining them is very, very tough in the market that's out there, is that we are going to pay the people that are working for this town, and that is a priority for us to make sure their pay gets. We would cut other items in our budget, which we obviously showed you we have, in order to pay the people that work for this town and are working for the people, that they get an accurate pay for what their services they're providing for us, instead of being the flipping them over there, being the lowest paid people. It's just not right. So we, and from my discussion on the board, is that we're going to pay the people. And this is why you're seeing an increase in the police department, the fire, the highway, the library, is that we want to retain employees.
Right, and I understand making, the town employees a priority, but, on this board, we have to make the taxpayers a priority. And they voted for a
Well,
tax
this
cap,
piece-
hold on, John. They voted for a tax cap for 4%, and then there was an effort to repeal the tax cap. People voted to keep the tax cap, and, it's good to make retaining our employees and getting quality employees a priority, but people do want us to control spending and try to maintain a 4% growth rate here. So, this is a thing that we can do that reduces the budget by, I have no idea, $20,000-$30,000 probably, without firing anybody, without laying anybody off, without reducing anybody's hours. So it's something to seriously consider.
I just don't believe it's the best use.
If I could just jump in, it was just for Jen, because I think this is a good discussion that we ought to have as a board. If we had any more questions for Jen, then she could be free to go, or, you're welcome to hang out, and
Listen to the rest of the discussion.
you are welcome
I'm
too.
here,
but-
if you have questions for me, I am happy to try to answer them.
But at the same time, if you're, we don't want to get uncomfortable or whatever anyway, so.
I got
This
nothing
is
else.
weird.
Go enjoy your holiday.
Yes.
Well, I think it's important to be good employers and to remember that many of our employees are taxpayers in this town as well.
That is true.
I don't see how harming them or not paying them decently is helping the overall situation. And I really do believe that continuity, professionalism ultimately saves money. We've tried cutting, and being cheap, and here we are.
I wasn't proposing cutting anybody's pay or anything. I'm just proposing that we don't hire a new full-time director when we know we're getting by with a part-time director.
Because it is a full-time position, which is just being covered by an interim.
But it is currently a part-time position held by a part-time
And we could
employee.
limp
I have a
through just
question.
doing
Yes.
that.
Is this person who's a part-time, Amanda, is she willing to stay on indefinitely as a part-time, and become
that's
our permanent part-time director? Is that even an option?
I would have to talk with her. I can't speak for that. She was brought on with
With the
the full
understanding
understanding.
that it was temporary?
Exactly, and that we explained, this could take a while to hire. If we get the budget, we still need to find someone, so she knows that we want her to stay on until that position is filled, but indefinitely is something else. I'd have
Something
to.
else, but she's talented and skilled, and she could find another full-time position
Oh,
somewhere
absolutely.
else.
Yes.
How many hours a week is she working now, on a part-time basis?
It varies, depending on what kind of programs we have, and obviously right now with one person on leave, she's been working more, but generally speaking, it's between 25 and 30 hours a week.
It's not really part-time.
Well, 31, I think, is the
Yeah.
tipping point.
She'll-
Is she
For
paid hourly
benefits,
at
but.
Yes, she is. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Jen or library salaries in particular?
No, I just
Okay,
had
if it's general, why don't you hang on to it, Bob?
yeah, I'll hold on to it.
All right, because we'll get right, I think it's a good discussion, and it's gonna have, we should have it at some point, so. Thanks a
Okay.
lot, Jen.
And of
Appreciate it.
course, as always, if any additional questions come up after I leave, I am happy to answer
Or you
them.
can stay and listen to this and,
I think I'm going to head home.
I just want you to feel like.
Can I
you're
ask
giving
one
you the bum
question?
rush hour.
Do you not qualify to be in the merit compensation pool? Do you know that answer?
So I don't understand exactly what this all is, because I get the feeling that we were at one point
Okay.
part of the merit pool, but we are not in it. And I think that has to do with the fact that the library has a very strange carve-out in the New Hampshire statutes, because the trustees are responsible, we're the elected officials, essentially. We're the select board for the library. Because we determine who gets hired by the library, we set the salaries. So I think that that's why they're,
Okay. I was just curious if it was,
Yeah.
thank you.
So it's kind of like the school, like it's its own separate entity.
not separate entity, but the financials are definitely
It's
kept.
a sub-entity.
Oh, I like that, yes, sub-entity.
Separate sub.
Yeah, but we're definitely under the town, but separate.
You don't have your own ballot, huh?
Don't need it.
We do not. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Imagine that, oh my gosh.
All right, Bob, you ready? Back to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I understand where people are coming from, the salaries, but that's just one pillar, okay? You have salaries, you have pension, which most people don't have, you have healthcare, okay? Which most people don't have really good healthcare, right? I just paid $278 for just a consultation about getting wisdom teeth removed for 10 minutes with this doctor, right? Another test, Quest Diagnostics, $500. They told me, oh, insurance, you get discounts, $250. I'm like, yeah, but your website says $150. She says, well, if you buy it separate and not go through insurance, it's cheaper, right? This is what people are dealing with. I mean, deductibles, $3,200 per person I paid. So when the BOS last year said, well, we're gonna give people $1,000 deductibles, I was like, oh, please give me a $1,000 deductible, okay? And this is a taxpayer, I'm just showing you where we're coming from. I can't work anymore. I worked over 750 hours of overtime and burnt out. You know what I mean? It's just, you're squeezing the taxpayer too. So it's a separate pillar. I understand you gotta pay someone decent wage, but, you know, I mean, you gotta pay your fair share somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right, but
You
not giving
couldn't-
our employees good health care doesn't help your problem. I mean, it would be nice if we could all rise up to
Right,
that level rather than
well,
dragging down
I'm
because we all
forced to
wanna
pay
be-
someone else to have better health care than I have myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I shouldn't be forced. You know what I mean? That's what you're coming down to.
So maybe then, you know, obviously employees, we want to take care of our employees. If that's a non-negotiable, of course, all get to vote on this in a couple of weeks, right? But there are other items in the budget that there is some room on. You know, I was just making notes here. So we have a 4% tax cap. What I think happened a lot of times is a lot of the spending, like Tom mentioned, the 200,000 has been moved to warrant. But it's like, yeah, the budget, like the number works out at 4%, but we just put that 200,000 and put it onto a warrant. Like our tax bills went up 20% between the first and second tax bill. So we're supposed to have a 4% cap, but we saw a 20% increase this year. So maybe there's some other negotiables in the budget that we can trim down. Because we haven't seen the warrants yet, we're not, you know, entitled to see them, or we're not, they're not due until the 9th.
We don't see
So
them
we don't
until
see them
they
basically
may not even
until-
be written yet.
We don't see them basically until our meeting, so who knows what the increases were gonna be in the warrants. So I don't know, I don't think it's a bad idea to comb through the budget and find some other things that we could pull this number down with, because, you know, yeah, it's technically a 4% by this line, but it was 20% this year, so.
And there's not gonna be any road money left to pull out next year to pull this kind of loophole again.
Right, just compounds, right? 4% compound every year, compounds.
Like inflation.
Our salary, you know, I mean, been here 20 years, taxes more than doubled, my salary hasn't doubled.
I don't get a 4% raise.
The
just-
se- the selectmen
It's
are
tough.
maintaining the reduced rate that they had last year, correct?
They are, but if you take the average towns going around, it should be around $2,000 for a selectman. I mean, some of them are higher, some of them are lower. You know, I mentioned this a couple meetings ago. You know, it was Deerfield, 600, right, stipend. Here's another one, 2,000, Sandown, 2,000 stipend. Northwood, 1,500 to 2,500. You know, I guess it depends on how many board members you have, you know what I mean? Wasn't there a time where there was only 3 board of selectmen? Okay, so then their stipend would go up, so maybe that's how it fluctuates, you know what I mean? And same with the budget committee, it was never 11 people before either. Okay, 5, 7, whatever it was.
It's always been 11.
It has always been 11?
Other towns can have less.
No, we vote.
I didn't think so, I'm talking about years ago.
Reduce.
Talking about over a decade ago.
Yeah, it's been
Really?
9 with 2
No.
people for as long as I know.
Okay.
So that's the way it was voted in originally.
I mean, I was told by the former chair, Michael Keister, that years ago they were having chronic absentee problems, like they couldn't get a quorum. So if you did view any of those old meetings, there
Right.
probably were
Oh,
less
I
people
got
in
you.
the room.
We did have a period of time that it was tough getting people to come.
That makes more sense.
Then we made this more exciting.
It's just hard to keep up.
So I got this email from Ellen that I thought I could read to the board, so. Just a second here. I asked if there was revisions to the budget, and she said, good morning, there were no further revisions made to the operating budget. I reviewed the 2 recommended lines in the highway budget that could potentially be cut by 10K, as well as the request to restore the 200,000 for subcontracted road reconstruction. The consensus of the board is that they made the cap number with the estimated revenue offset. I will forward a clean copy as well as the tax cap calculation, which I didn't get, so I think maybe she's having trouble with that thing. But- So I guess, John, it sounds like the board of selectmen likes this budget, and this is the one you guys,
I was sick at the last Board of Selectmen meeting.
yeah.
So when they went over the reviews of what, when Alan was here, that those 4 members decided that this is where they want to stay.
Okay.
So I'm not seeing a change. I know one of those, I think, was the mowing and vegetation control. I think
Yeah,
that was,
there's no
it sounds like
changes in this.
there's no changes from the last sheet. So what our recommendations to Ellen, they decided that they didn't need to account for them,
okay.
because we're under the 4%, because they moved 200,000 out.
But what were our recommendations? The mowing and vegetation control, and I think there was another one.
Sounded like it was a highway.
Yeah, it was either salt or sand, gravel, or stone, or something like that. There was something where the price had gone down, maybe. I guess we could have to look back at the minutes.
I'm trying to find it in my notes here.
Oh, I think maybe Owen suggested reducing sand, gravel, and stone to 70, according to my notes.
Sounds familiar.
And then possibly taking 5K off of the 266 equipment maintenance. I think that was also suggested. So maybe it
Highway
wasn't.
equipment maintenance,
Yeah,
I had a note here. Potentially taking 5,000 off.
and I don't know what Owen suggested for reducing the sand, gravel, and stone one. It might have just been another 5K.
Sounds like it was just 10K from the highway.
So just make notes of that.
So I was talking about line 339, Rec Park Field Beach Maintenance and Mowing. If you broke it down, 15 was for mowing, the other one was for seed and signs and fertilizing, right?
Yeah.
So you could have took 10 grand off of there. I mean, I don't know if they're taking our suggestions about having the highway department do the mowing. You could have got rid of the mowing at the school, at the 2 ball fields around the town, and the cemeteries. Okay, my buddy used to mow all this, so he told me how long it takes to do it, you know what I mean, when they did it, so I have a pretty good idea. So I don't know if that was ever,
Well, the town doesn't own any mowing equipment.
right, and so basically, if you take all this, you could buy 2 brand-new zero turns, and you'd still have money left over in the budget from minusing all this. You'd knock 25,000 off of there, 5,000 around here, and I don't know what the school is, it's gotta be up there a little bit. Right, plus, I didn't even figure it out, the mowing, weed whack around the cemeteries, one up here, 156, and there's 2 other ones, I believe. He's telling me he used to mow and weed whack.
I think it's something to look at. Our
Right,
highway
so that was the
depart-
same,
our highway department's
sometimes
fully
you have to
staffed right
spend
now.
money to save money.
In-
Right.
We're fully staffed on the highway department, and
I would say it's worth a look, you know?
But was Ellen saying that it was because that the highway doesn't cover the fields? It's not part of the.
They can.
Yeah, it's just like
But I
someone's
think
gotta
that
be
was
in
her
charge,
response,
right?
is that that's not necessarily
was-
the
yeah.
highway,
But
right?
it can be,
Right.
it's just.
Because it's no longer Public Works, which would maybe
It
cover
doesn't really
fields.
matter, it's still highway department.
I thought I seen them weed whacking the sign down here at the town hall this summer. That was the highway department, there we whacked.
highway
around.
department was
Yeah.
doing
It's roadside mowing. Everything's
Oh, maybe.
roadside if
I
you
don't know.
extend it out
I
enough.
thought I seen the one or trucks, so I'm not sure. That's a good question.
I just remember, I feel like that was her response, that it was not
I don't remember that
technically
one, but
highway
Right, you
department,
gotta
but
be a-
that,
you gotta be
I
a
mean,
boss and
but
tell-
that would be, a discussion with the highway department. I mean,
Right, no one wants to do more work, I get it, but no one wants to pay higher taxes either.
Right,
You know what
no.
I mean?
I've-
If there's,
I've-
there's some,
It does seem like a ton of money for mowing it. I feel like we brought it to
Right.
the house,
Well,
we
and-
might
yeah.
be able to save money, but I
No.
don't know. for
Oh,
sure.
and that's
I-
always the thing. Last time we brought this up, someone said, oh, it's gonna be 125,000 to buy all this equipment. That's not true at all. I don't know where they got this number at. Year after year, they brought the same thing up when I suggested it. It's not even close. You know what I mean? And you have all these trucks still. Only thing you need is a trailer and zero turn. I'm sure they already have a weed whacker and a blower.
Yeah.
You can buy one of those new, you still have money left over.
Oh, no,
I'd like to make a note from last year on this board, and I was a part of this board and stuff like that, and the mirror pool got cut, and we fertilized fields with the money.
Right, right
And
now,
this comes back to retaining town employees and stuff like that, and I think it's important, but we fertilize fields instead. And I made it to the point last year, and I was hoping that it would go a different way, but that's the way we went. We decided to fertilize fields, get rid of any of that mirror pool compensation to retain employees, and now we're hearing the same stuff, that it's a problem, and we know it is, but apparently we like grass growing better, and then we gotta mow it.
well,
So-
on top of that, you have to spend.
Just
you
my
got
2 cents.
1,750 on line 147. Now you gotta spend electricity on the sprinkler, so it grows quicker, so you can mow it more, charge you more.
True.
There's no community well right there. $65,000 for sprinkler right now we paid. Now we're in the budget 1,750 just for electricity. Or you want road maintenance?
We know if the water bubbler works yet?
Not yet.
Didn't
It's
think
coming
so.
there. Well, they're saying that,
That's a permitting thing.
yeah, they're saying now you don't have to test it if it's not so many gallons, I'm not sure.
These zero-turn mowers you mentioned, are those like anybody can operate them, or do you have to do like trained?
No, I mean, yeah, you got trained just like a lawnmower. I mean, there's teenagers.
But I don't think
running.
you need a license.
No, you don't need a
Like a
license.
CBC license.
No,
It takes
no.
practice.
It takes
It
practice.
takes practice, yeah.
If you
I'm
can,
wondering
if you
if-
can operate a big truck with a plow, you can operate a zero-turn mower.
Well, no,
These
but
fields are pretty level though, too.
I'm wondering if that's a place for the town to take advantage of the county's inmate program, right? Because if we could buy a mower
I just don't think
that they could operate, they could go mow a cemetery or.
I don't know if they
go
get
mow
hurt
some
on
field.
that, if they flip or whatever liability.
Give 'em the weed
I don't
whacker.
I
know
would wonder about
that.
liability.
But town employee different, they're covered.
You're right, Brent.
And I don't think it's consistent, I mean, we could.
Well, you give them a weed whacker, no one's.
Have the inmates weed whack around the signs, and then the town guys can hop on a zero turn and go
Yeah.
mow.
So I think that's a question the town should reach out to the county program, because they were trying to get us to take advantage of it, and no one ever got around to it, as far as I can tell. But I would ask them, because I'm guessing that operating a mower is something that's pretty commonly asked for, and they might have people that, for all we know, have great mower skills, or they'll say, well, we only want them to operate a standard push mower, and we can go buy a $200-300 push mower, and it can take them the whole day to mow a field, but it's, all you gotta do is buy lunch.
Are they allowed sharp blades?
Probably. They're allowed out during the
But
day.
Tom, my feeling is that they won't contract to come like, right, like, we can't say every Tuesday we'd like someone to mow our fields. I feel like it's more like, we need this job done, they're gonna come, and other communities wanna use them as well. So I don't think that we can use them consistently.
I'm pretty sure they're all about consistent schedules at the
That
jail.
would be great.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
the
but
fact
we're
that they were
talking about
looking,
special group
they were
outside,
actively
which
looking
is-
for people to like give their program
I
stuff to
understand
do,
that, but
so.
They're also very low on help at the jail right now, too.
Do you know from
Special group that
experience?
comes out to be-
No.
I
I
could tell,
don't think they'll get locked into a regular schedule, but I could be wrong, and if I am.
I asked our sheriff about this when he came and visited one of our meetings.
hey, if I was in jail and somebody asked me, hey, you wanna go mow a field? I'd be like, hell yeah, I do.
Yeah. Or Charlotte, also, our landfill, we have to
You'll
by
get to be out.
law or something, we gotta mow the landfill 3 times a year, right?
I
Something
don't
like
care if it's
that.
raining.
That would be. a
That's,
good-
that's a good one, where like, it doesn't matter how long it takes them or how irregular.
And if I'm wrong about that, hey, I'm all for it, but I don't think you can lock them into a regular schedule. I think there are lots of other towns. And what the sheriff says and what actually happens, especially when they're having such problems staffing, but it's a great idea. So, I just,
It's something to explore.
Doesn't hurt to ask
it
questions.
doesn't hurt, and especially the landfill. I mean, that would be, like you said, just a couple of times a year. A good idea.
And I'm sure the highway department could handle putting the mower on a trailer and dropping it off somewhere in the morning and picking it back up.
Well, see what they say, right?
So we'll now start making motions.
I don't know if this is the time to make motions for reductions, or do we make suggestions for reductions?
I think we generally do that after we have the hearing and the
Okay.
select board is done with it, because we don't know what ideas they
But the
like.
BOS made motions, right? They moved things around already.
Plus, I think we want to see the warrant articles too, I would imagine, right? Because that's a big part of it. 'Cause we don't, if we make a decision about something and then they could just put a warrant article.
Right, it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
any decisions we make today because
We don't have the budget
we
yet.
don't have the whole thing and it doesn't matter till after the hearing. That's when we completely own the budget.
So the sense was, though, that the Board of Selectmen is not making any changes based on the suggestions previously heard?
From what I understood from the
suggestion.
email from Ellen, this is what they're presenting to us, pending, another,
If you watch.
so
the
we get it
meeting-
on the 9th.
So if you watch the meeting, some of them rather have them make the changes than us suggestions, basically.
Well, we could, it's an early meeting, it might do some work now, might save us work on the 9th or later.
We can do that.
We can make suggestions and have discussion now, and we'll save those, motions and voting until the 9th, is that?
That's fine, all right.
Right, it gives us something at least to think about, take home to think about.
Charlotte, what do you think about the line 23, the newsletter thing? I know there was some discussion about moving it digital, reducing the number of print editions.
Yeah, there's a contingent that feels very, very strongly that print is very, very important.
I'm guessing that's the older contingent?
Well, I'm the older contingent, I'd like to go digital. Okay. I don't know how valid that is, how many people don't have access or don't pay attention. I think the newsletter looks very nice on the town website. It's in color. You can click on something and go right to it. I like it. But people have more experience than I have in volunteering for the newsletter, really would like to see it in print. I did feel like our current editor and layout person did suggest that we do it once a year. Like at the beginning of the year, do a print, so it goes to everybody, encourage people to get on that. I think it's inevitable, isn't it? That
I think so.
change is hard, I know, but, if they're watching, they're probably gonna kill me. But, it's an area that, it's only gonna go up. Paper is only more expensive, printing is more expensive, postage is more expensive. And, it's a very nice thing, and there aren't many ways to communicate in town, but it's not, the New York Times.
Do you know anything about the printing costs and how that works? Do you know who prints it?
I could find out. I know that we get a deal.
Mark Peters prints it.
Right, because Mark Peters, but it's a printing system that I don't understand, and I don't think anyone else on the committee does. That somehow the proof has to go to California and then comes back to Mark, who volunteers his time. The town pays for paper and ink, but he prints it free of charge. But he's no spring chicken either. And so I see, we've looked in the past for cheaper printing. It's not to be had.
Kind of hard to beat.
It's kind of hard to be free in the,
Right?
Right, other than supplies.
Right, and are there other ways to send it, we send it bulk?
So what I'm getting at, Charlotte, is could we do an opt-in for physical mailers? Like, we send out a paper one once a year or something, and it says, these are available every month or every other month on the website in full color. If you don't have access to the internet, you know, write us here, and then we'll put your name on a list, and then you can have a list of the 100 people in town that don't have the internet, and we can print off a copy for them and send that to them.
I gotcha, yeah, you gotta opt in to get it, then basically.
Because right now, we have a few people out of town who we mail them to, because they lived here for, like Rhoda Capron, you know, who moved. She still gets, she'd like to get one. So I think that could be done. I would ask that you give us little people a little time.
What happens
to
when
make
new
the
people
adjustments.
move in? How do we know that and send them a notice that this thing even exists?
Well,
Well, when
maybe,
they come down to town hall and they register their car or they pay their tax bill, we can have a thing that says, hey, we got a newsletter. But the
Okay.
one a year, the one that comes out each year and goes in print, that would probably continue to be addressed to resident, and you're paying for every door delivery, so it's going to every house regardless of if we know
Once a year,
their
it
name or
always
not.
go, once a year, by your
Everybody would
idea,
get it.
once a year, it still goes out to everybody.
Yeah,
As a
that
hard-
sounds
as a
reasonable.
hard copy.
Yeah.
And that
Right,
was our
so-
editor's idea, that if, you know, we really have to bite the bullet here and not do a print copy.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I'm just wanting to know how it works.
So
Yeah.
in addition to, if we went to electronic, once a year print, rest of the time electronic, what would be nice is if, like, the Nixle thing went out and said, newsletter's been posted. And that way,
That's a great example.
everybody who's opted into that
Yeah.
is gonna get that message. And it's not an email that you're gonna miss, because it's gonna be a text.
And I mean, I'm well aware that some people
So
get it
where
and
where
wanna
was
put it
that
right in the trash, too,
email's
you
been,
know?
newsletter's been posted, where does that show up, on the town website or the town?
Right, I guess it's
Yeah,
on the
right
town website. and
Yeah,
it's-
and it's in color.
Right.
It's, to me, it's much more attractive in color,
Probably.
and all the links are live, which is cool.
But it,
Yeah.
the
I think
important
the
thing.
town website's well laid out, I think.
Right, but the important
Easy to
thing
use.
is getting that
It's nice.
notice to say, hey, the new newsletter's there, and having it come through the Nixle thing that we're paying for that service anyway.
What do you think we could reduce this by then?
That's what I was just gonna ask. So the sense if that, the budget was 8,000, how many was that covering? How many additions? 6 additions.
And it, I mean, it went up considerably, the
And
actual
we got-
year to date.
$2,400 revenue there currently.
Yeah, so that does
I have a note
offset a
for
bit. It's a fair amount of advertising, actually, and we just raised the advertising rate for the first time in like a bajillion years. So, you know, there should be more coming in.
Would people pay as much or advertise as much if it were only online?
I don't know, that's a very good
But it would be
question.
that much cheaper to produce if it's just
I mean,
online.
usually
Because there's a lot of
advertising
people
is usually
who
based
won't-
on the number of people who are
Won't
looking
be
at it.
checking it online. There are a
So-
lot of people that just don't do that. They may have computers and do other things, but
Well, that's
whereas
why,
they do pick up and read something that
Well,
comes
that's
out of the
what
mailbox.
Other members of the volunteers say is that they feel that it's so important that there's so many people who still want that paper.
right, but that's what's nice about, as long as you're notified, because that's the thing, if you don't get notified, it's easily forgotten. You know, it's just like,
Yeah.
I would never remember to go, oh, you know, it's the,
I like the idea of bringing
Second-
people to the town website, too.
Right.
Just to see, oh, there's an announcement, oh, I didn't know
Well-
that was here.
I mean, it's also possible they could print a more limited number of copies and leave at the town office. You know what I mean?
or
I mean,
somebody can
it-
print their own.
Well, yeah, they could print their own
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, I mean, that's true, because if you have it electronically, you can just print it out. but-
It's just a PDF.
John, do you know how many people get the Nixle alerts in town?
No idea.
Ellen, if you're listening, can you figure out how many people get the Nixle alerts?
Quite a few.
Because I'm wondering if
That would
we're,
be another good thing to
if we're reaching thousands, if we're reaching a good number of the townspeople with the Nixle alerts, right? We have a way to contact people, and you're sending them, hey, we got a new newsletter and everything. That sounds like that is more useful to the town for notifying people than the union leader. And maybe we can publish meeting notifications and things that are costing us tens of thousands of dollars. Maybe we can publish them in our own town newsletter that gets sent out push notification to people.
I don't know if you could send that much content.
No, but it directs you to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably a good idea to use that more. But, right.
So if we were proposing a bill to a state representative, would we say, you know, in lieu of posting the notice in a newspaper that few people in town read, that we would want the ability to use the town's official notification system to put out an alert that there's a meeting?
Because people do, just about everybody at least looks at that little newsletter that comes in their mailbox.
I guarantee you more people read that town newsletter than read the Union Leader and.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
guaranteed.
For sure.
It's like,
But I also you have to remember, I'm not speaking for the whole group.
Right. Yeah,
It's
that's
just one
what,
person's
I was just going to ask, so things like advertising, have they already guaranteed that this will be in print copies for, if they've written, I'm just curious what, if there would be.
Words,
I didn't know if it was
That's the way it's always been.
when you pay, you
I'm
get-
a little like going, oh, it.
Right, well, that's what,
Tell them tomorrow.
I just wouldn't want to, cut the budget.
When I advertised it, I paid per edition. I
Per-
didn't pay in
yeah.
advance at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a
I think that-
year of-
Yeah, I would just pay one at a
Do it for a
time.
year for
Okay.
6 issues. And as I say, we have gone up, I think it was like $25, and we've gone up to $35 per issue. So we'll bring in more revenue, but, you know.
So we don't want to be irresponsible and leave you guys scrambling,
That's what-
right?
Well,
So
that's- I'm just
Cut
like,
the whole
if-
line and
just me.
If we cut this to
And
zero,
then I
you,
disagree.
you would be scrambling. But, and so this 8,000 pays for the next, 6 editions throughout the next year.
And then-
So if we reduce this by half, then it would essentially pay up to the July edition.
Yeah.
And then that would give you 6 months or so to transition over to a digital type thing. And I assume that you would print the 1-a-year copy sometime around March or something with the election and everything.
I would think so, more towards the beginning of the year. I mean, the other problem is that this is all volunteer.
Right.
And we've been really trying to, get volunteers, especially with technical things, because again, it's no surprise to you, the older folks are super techy. And it's hard to do that. So we could use some kind of help somewhere, somebody who's techie, to make a transition, and then I think, right now, we're lugging like boxes that weigh pounds and pounds and pounds to the post office every other month too, and putting all the labels on and all, it's a lot. The volunteers who've done it for years, they're wonderful.
Yeah,
They're really great,
let's,
but we're
let's
all-
save their
none of us
backs
are
and
penny.
Save
deliver
their
it
backs,
digitally.
Save some paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
If you guys are good on newsletter,
Yep.
I was gonna go to the one just above it, the Pawtuckaway Lake Advisory, the $5,000 from Milfoil. It may sound like a broken record.
Which
but I-
line is it?
Just above it,
22.
line 22. I really don't think the town should be paying for that
Why
year
not?
after year. Oh, it's a good question. I don't think the town should be paying for it because it's not an essential function of the town. I feel like the lake is important and the lake is nice, but we have to provide for our employees and we have to provide for our facilities, which we're not doing. So if we can't do it all, there's some things that we cannot do. And I feel like it's up to the board to vote and discuss on it. But I feel like this is an area that we should have never gotten involved with. Because by doing so, it makes the state kind of take their hands off a little bit, perhaps. And there's other things that money could be much better spent on.
so do you know what that actually pays for?
I think it pays for a very little, small amount of milfoil removal.
Nope, doesn't pay for milfoil.
Is it for the people that police the kayaks coming in?
Yes, it pays for employees to do the boat inspections,
Is that at that Fundy Cove boat ramp place?
milfoil prevention at both the state park as well as the Fundy boat ramp.
Is that Fundy,
Partially funded through a grant. And the Pawtuckaway Lake Association splits the cost with the town for the remainder of it.
John, that boat ramp, that Fundy Cove boat ramp, is that part of the state park?
No,
Oh,
no, it
No,
is
that's a
Fish and
town.
Game.
no, Fundy isn't.
Fundy it's a fishing game
Fishing
ramp.
game.
New Hampshire State Fishing Game?
Yeah.
So the boat ramp is owned by the state.
Correct.
And the other place in the state park is obviously owned by the state. And then the size of the lake is obviously over 10 acres, right? So that means it's public water is owned by the state. So the state owns both of the boat ramps, the state owns the water itself. So shouldn't the state be paying for it, especially considering that the state makes, its second highest income producing property is Pawtuckaway, next to Hampton Beach.
Well, yes. Shouldn't the state also be paying property taxes?
Probably.
For the things that they get for being part of the town, like services for ambulance, fire, those services, shouldn't the state be paying taxes for that?
Well, we should be getting a payment in lieu of taxes, and I think we already do. It's just not enough to cover the extra fire and police.
You know, the state doesn't pay for anything.
Right. But didn't you guys get them to pay for some milfoil stuff this year?
They,
Yes, we did, but that
Yeah.
was a one-time.
Right.
Next time, it's 50% less. Next time after that, might be even less. The state has over 450 lakes that they have to monitor, take care of, and look at.
But only one of those lakes is this top income producing lake, and that's Pawtucket.
You know what, and that is absolutely 100%. The lake the state park has not been able to, I believe, the last 4 years, to be able to put lifeguards at their beach, because they won't pay them more than 17, where every lifeguard out there, if you work for the city or whatever public pool, they're all paying 25. So no one wants to work for the state. So why isn't the state, where they've actually reduced, this is how smart they are, they said they should go by the occupant full.
Got 'em going.
Because they don't have enough lifeguards or put any lifeguards on the beach, so they can't put in 5,000 people on the beach. Because they don't have the staff, because they won't pay them. So if you won't pay the staff in order to make money, and say, hey, let's put 2 lifeguards up there so we can increase the amount of people coming to the state park so we can make more money, they said no. We pay one state park price all the way across. Same guy here can work at Clough State Park with 200 people at it, but Pawtucket has 5,000 on their beach. We ain't gonna pay any difference between the lifeguard here and the lifeguard over there. So the state is inhibiting their own revenue source by not paying employees. So what do you do there?
I don't
And they
think,
know
I don't
it's
think
a
their
money
lifeguard
maker.
situation is any part of our problem. I think the problem is
Again, you're
that
talking about revenue,
we're paying for
You're not
maintenance
right.
on state property that
Well-
the state should probably be paying
but the
for.
state won't pay for their own
Right.
stuff.
Well, they're certainly never gonna pay for the milfoil if we're all paying for it.
and then the other thing is, if we stop doing this, and the lake gets totally infested with milfoil, all those property values are gonna go down, and there goes your revenue source.
What do you mean there goes our revenue source?
Our
Who
revenue
pays the
source,
biggest
our
portion?
The
taxes.
state's revenue would go down too then.
The town's revenue won't go down, that just lowers the
Invest it.
tax base. The
Right.
town will
so
still
you
collect
lower
all
it,
the revenue at
so
once.
your taxes will go up,
I understand that,
your taxes will go up,
yeah.
I
Yours
guess
will go
really
down.
the
mine will go down.
Due to the increase in the lack of state help for protecting the state park is the reason the 5,000 came in there. The Lake Association with members that live on the lake all pay in dues, not as many as should. There is a lack of people that
Only
live on the
about half-
lake
only about half
that
the
do not pay in some sort of $100, $50, what, they just won't pay anything, you know?
So you got your own voluntary private organization
I
to protect the
donate every
lake.
single year, Mr. Decker does, his wife does, I mean, I can name quite a few of us that,
My wife and I do together.
right, whatever. So, you know, it's whatever. But, you know, we do, but then I can look at some of my neighbors and they won't donate anything. You know, but so, I mean, what are you gonna do? It's.
Well, I
You
think
take
that's
the
great
5
that you
out,
have that
You take the
organization.
5 out, what happens is we limit, they're gonna not be able to pay the employees that work there. Because obviously, you can't find employees to work there, even though most of the people that work there are volunteers, and the ones that are working there are only making like 16 or 17. It's not even no high-paid job to work a Saturday afternoon, or to get there Saturday morning at 5 AM for all the fishing tournament boats that are coming in, that have just been out in the National River for a tournament, which is filled with milfoil, mussels, and all the crap. Or they've been on the Merrimack, or they've been on all the other lakes that they've been just fishing at. You know, this is what we're paying for, this somebody to sit there to make these people aware of what they could possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, again, if you wanna cut it, sure, go for it. I mean, I
Well,
mean, I don't
I
support it.
didn't propose that. I don't wanna have the whole milfoil discussion.
I didn't.
You know, we can have that at town meeting.
And again, I'm not trying to, I'm saying, but this is a money.
It's
line
not a
item
lot of
that-
money, it's not a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
It's not a lot of money for what you're getting.
But they all the lot of, not a lot of monies add up. So that's all.
And you
I'm saying.
pay it every year.
I thought there was a warrant article for it also.
400
There
homes, 400 homes on Pawtucket, $5,000. The newsletter.
That's $10 a piece, $10
The
a house.
newsletter, 8,000. If you cut that 8,000, if you took that whole newsletter and just threw it out and says, we don't got a newsletter anymore, I don't know if there's 400 people that actually would care about that newsletter.
Thanks.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, you wanna save money. there's, who we we're talking about, who are we affecting the most and who we're affecting the least. That's the idea of making the budget so we can give the best we can to the majority of the people. Because you can't give everybody everything they want and pay for everything, because there's not enough money.
So we should,
So you have to say, is that I don't care, I can look at the newsletter online. I don't need a paper thing, doesn't bother me. Do you need a paper? Do you need paper? Does anybody need paper? Well, hey, we're speaking of majority, cut the whole thing. Just put $1,000.
so your suggestion is for us to focus on cuts to things that are not applicable to a lot of people and focus on keeping stuff that applies to everybody?
For the majority, I'm always about taking care of the majority.
Right.
And at the minimum, you know, if there's things that we have to cut for the certain group, hey, I'm sorry, get your group bigger, do more.
So I mean, then why do we cut $200,000 in road maintenance? Because that's
Right.
for
That's
everybody.
extra.
Everybody uses the roads unless you're shut in.
So, I thought there was a warrant article.
I would have
for
loved to kept it all
invasive
in,
species.
walked into the town and said, here, we're gonna have a
Every year
6%
there's a warrant
tax
article
increase this
that
year.
piggybacks.
Here's your 200,000 that's in there.
There,
And I would have been very pleased with going in with a 6% increase.
yes,
And I believe there, I thought the fund,
There-
Spacious Species Fund had 62,000 balance in it.
so there is a warrant article,
Yep.
and that fund
Yep.
can pay for salaries to go towards this line here. It can support that line, because this 5,000 is, a lot of years is not enough money. But that is also supposed to be saving to do, like what we did with the Procora, or whatever the heck it's called,
Chemical.
the chemical, and stuff like that, for treating, for actual treating of the milfoil.
But I heard no money was used this year out of the fund, because I thought the state took care of it this year.
The state did take care of it this year.
So,
but it still
so
looks
the
like-
fund was there, nothing was used out of it. There's 5,000 in the budget for it, and there's a warrant article goes out every year for another 5,000.
I think it was 10 last
I
time.
was remembering 10.
Okay.
They hedged their bets at
We
deliberative.
had
so
more
they-
money in this line last year originally.
They put it in two
and then they
places
moved
rather
it.
than one.
I can see adding it back in there if this fund gets a little lower. I mean, how long is 60,000? I don't know.
At the cost of what they did, we basically depleted
Yeah,
one time. Depending on the size of the mass of the area they're looking to treat. And the big focus is the money that the state actually did for this last one. And again, we don't need, this whole subject can go on for hours and days, so I'd rather not put more time into it. But the largest area that the state treated was in front of our town beach. The place that the town
right.
wants to use to go swimming. The place that is set for the residents of the town for free access to Pawtuckaway Lake. That's where the biggest milfoil is, and that's where the
And
state
this-
puts the money.
Right,
This
and we don't know if
this
it's gonna
money-
continue to be,
We don't
if we can use it in the future.
Well, we're hoping that in 3 years it doesn't go back to the big gigantic bloom that it once was.
No,
Maybe
I meant
that's-
access.
Alexis?
I meant
Well,
access.
that's, I mean,
So,
that's a whole-
we spent all this money for something we might, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays
it's been there for
out.
40 years that way. Let's hope it stays that long too, so.
Oh, you just have to think about these things. Things change.
We could offer to pay the land, but that'd be expensive for the town.
All right, anybody else want to add anything to the lake advisory line, number 22?
Are you gonna add to it now?
Okay, cool.
So what was about line, actually had line 2, selectmen. Stay, concurrent with the rest of the towns, which, my math I did, looking about 2,000 per person, looking about 10 grand, I'm looking to cut it 5,000.
Every item you guys want to propose to cut should actually be written down by somebody in a list of everything that's going on, says line this. So we have a meeting on the 3rd, Tuesday or 4th? It's right before your next meeting.
Yeah, so Thursday is the 4th, so Tuesday would be the 2nd.
So I think it's the 3rd. We're having a meeting Wednesday, the Board of Selectmen, not a scheduled meeting, but it's gonna be going over warrant articles in this.
Yep.
So, as long as there's a full line item that you guys want to say here, we'll just every single one Because like even the last time, these conversations we're having, as I find them to be, you know, I like being part of them. You know, I like the questions and the, but black and white. Let's make it so that this is what you guys want to do, this is what you want to see changed, this is what you want to see taken off. I mean, you can watch us on TV, we'll go through every line item, A, B, C, D. They wanted to reduce the selectmen line from 15,000 to 10,000.
Well, we could just do it here because nothing was touched from last time.
Sure, if you want to,
I
again, but that's
mean,
the
it-
same
it-
thing.
it was
It's
kept
the
the
same
agenda-
thing as the
Right.
board's just gonna know about every line item you want. It's just to
Sure.
make sure it's clarity and easy that,
Yep.
because we're having discussions on 6 different line items right now, and I just still don't know which line item we're going to say what we're doing or what on.
Okay.
We just spent 10 minutes on the advisory, we spent 10 minutes on the newsletter, and
I have,
the
I
numbers are
have,
still the same as where they are.
I have written down here that there is a proposal from Owen to take 5,000 off the highway equipment maintenance and 5,000 off the sand gravel stone line.
You want me to keep a master thing?
I was gonna say, do you line paper?
Let me go get a, oh, you have line paper?
I have more if you, hopefully, I need more than that, but I have more.
Would be your own. And these aren't, obviously, we haven't voted on them, John, obviously, we're just preliminary discussions, but these are kind of
Wrong idea.
throwing ideas out to try and get that number down, so.
You want to start on
You wanna
page
go
one?
in order?
Yeah, let's go in order. So Tom, if you could get those when we get there.
You guys just rip through whatever you want.
We'll just rip through.
All right,
Okay,
All right.
line two.
line 2,
So-
selectmen. So Bob was suggesting 10,000.
Yes.
So a cut of 5,000.
How do you want me to write it, John? Cut 5,000?
Yeah, we just want the cut number.
Okay. All
Because
right.
we're gonna base every cut is off this 1214 note, or 12, whatever, 1212, off this, because we already made cuts to get to here.
Yes.
So whatever you say is here, this is the one we're gonna use, it's like, off this particular
Okay.
draft, this will be
From the,
where.
from the 1212 draft.
John, how are we?
Make sure that when we're going to this, are you guys, before we go any further, we don't have to have an official vote, but it would be nice to have a consensus of the board, is that you all are saying the 5,000 here would be something that you would suggest or say, and again, no, nothing official, but just say, the reason why we're writing it down is this board feels that that is a good cut.
Well, yeah, it would be great if you can discuss it, because maybe we didn't think of some sort of impact of cutting it. So it's nice that you guys could review them.
Oh, we're going absolutely, but again,
Right.
are you, everybody here,
So-
we okay with cutting the
Sure.
selectmen's by $5,000? Is that a good idea?
Yes, I'd be fine with that.
Appreciate you guys for all you do.
Appreciate
but-
it.
No, fine, just,
So,
again,
okay.
I just want to make sure we're going through it. So I'm not
Yep.
bringing an idea,
Yep.
it's only one member
Right.
that says we should do this, and 8 members say,
Well, if you don't hear a bunch of people yelling and disagreeing, then
well,
somewhat of a consensus, right?
okay, we can go on that note there too, that works?
Yeah, but we have.
For example, line 23 newsletter, it sounds like it would not be entirely disruptive. It's inevitable that it'll go digital in some form. To reduce it from 8,000 to 4,000, that gives them, 3 editions they can print up to June, July, and then figure out how to do the transition.
And in those editions, they can put in big black letters.
Yep. Let us know if you don't have internet, and we'll put you on a list, and you'll continue to get, maybe we can print them out and mail them out to the people that don't have internet.
But make them show the effort.
Yeah.
What about line 22? There was a lot of discussion.
Opposed.
I'm fine if you take it off, just because they already have it in a warrant article, so that the townspeople will get to vote on it.
If we
I don't know why it needs
I guess
to
if
be
we have like a general half and half, then we'll note it down. If it's just one person, then we won't.
Right, I just thought that it's already on the warrant article and there's already money in that fund, you know what I mean?
Now
No, we know there's a we know there is a warrant article already.
There's always one.
The last couple of
There will
years.
be. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's enough to merit a discussion for you
If
guys.
you take the 5 off there, there'll definitely be a warrant article.
Well, I'm sure there already will be.
Maybe they'll make the warrant article 15 instead of 10
They
then.
probably will. That would be better than having it in the budget.
Yeah, I think it would be better to have it
Rather
in
have
one
people vote
spot
on it,
rather
that's
than
fine.
2 spots.
I'm looking at line 5, compensation.
So did we take out the 5,000 there or not?
We are
Well, we're-
suggesting that they talk about
These
it.
are suggestions to give to the Board of Selectmen.
I know,
But, yeah.
but is that one of our
I think that's what-
suggestions?
Yeah,
Yes.
So just write the warrant article next to it.
yes.
Okay.
You're looking at line 5, Bob?
I was looking at line 5, because originally it's 100. Yeah, well, I didn't know if someone else was gonna mention
Let's
it.
please stay on one area and say, just keep that.
Yeah, we'll
Page
keep
one.
keep them as close as we can.
You know, originally it's 104,000, I was confused, it was 50, you know, the worksheet, then I found out it was in, another line, 50,000, so, you know, it increased significant, you know, it was 104,000 they had in originally. At 5%, I'm just saying, not all of us get raises, I haven't got a raise, no one has got a raise,
If you
and,
looked at that original line item, that was, we had it separated, as the municipalities, as being highway, people work inside the building here as a merit, and then the police chief had her own separate merit. We then went and took that out of the police chief's line and stuck it into the one line of merit being across the board. So there's not two different merit ones.
So
no,
John,
I didn't think it was two different years prior, I thought it was always on one.
Always on one, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
So-
I had a note here that the police are doing their own.
We switched it all.
Yeah,
Now it's back. So the
Yeah.
76
this
is
is a while ago.
everyone.
Every,
The current, and this is all
Includes
merit
PD, yep.
compensation.
that includes everybody, police, fire, that includes highway department.
Except the
that includes
library.
recycling
Except the
center.
library.
Except for the library.
right, so, 2021, it was 40,000, 2022, it was 75, they reduced it to, well, no, it was 75, 8.6% increase, 2023, 56, and then originally, 2024 was 104,000, then we moved it back up, reduced it to 76, so it's still 33.8%.
Everybody did get raises.
Right, I remember you mentioned something like that on,
If that line item, I
BOS
mean,
meeting.
What we put this year for compensation is, again, I'll still have one more year sitting there. You know, some raises are gonna be due whether people get promoted and stuff like this, where you have to give the raise, but, you know, if you cut that item next year, it will go back up, because if you don't give somebody something this year, you know you're gonna pay them next year. But again, it's a way to cut, you know, $10,000 or whatever, felt like taking it
So I
off.
have a question for you. The merit compensation thing, that's not all the raises that the town gives out, right?
Ellen says it was.
Yes.
All of them?
That's every,
Yes.
Oh, it is.
But,
It's
Oh, I don't
all,
understand it.
other than the library and obviously the school.
well, what
She says
about
actual zero?
So I'm confused because we were asking about the police salary went up 41%, and we were told that those raises were already given out.
Those raises
Like
were
back in
already given.
August.
They were.
Right. But those weren't issued out of the merit compensation pool.
No.
Okay.
But that
And neither
increased
is the fire
I thought
department.
they had another employee though, that's why it went up, right? Because their
Well, we did too.
salary
The fire
wasn't-
department was an increase in
We have a
employee.
part-timer this year.
Pardon?
We never had a
Right.
part-timer.
Fire department was increase in employees.
My understanding of
That was
the
the-
merit
Aren't they at
compensation
the same
pool is
level as
it's
the
a pool
police
for money
department?
based on performance, and if somebody's doing a good job, then they,
It's not automatic.
exactly, yeah, that's what my.
So the salary items, make this quick and easy, the salary items that are based on this right here are what we're paying them accordingly today. When you give a guy at the police station a 3%, or fire at the police or wherever, a 3% raise, that 3%, whether that $2 more an hour or whatever the percent, you know, comes out, is coming out of merit to compensate the fact that it's not in the salary item, because now the salary item went up. So this is where the merit compensation comes into play, so that we don't go over budget. So if we gave nothing on the merit item, everybody would basically be frozen, because we don't have any extra money to give anybody a raise.
I'm just wondering how the police raise, if it was this substantial, you know, it's like $189,000. I'm wondering how that got done. Like, how did the temporary TA propose doing that? If the merit pool was $57,000, you know, where does the money come from out of the budget for that?
We had money in our budget in order to pay for the
You're
raises.
talking about the bottom line budget,
Yeah,
basically.
we had the
So
money in there to compensate.
they
the
didn't
raises.
go by the budget, they went by the bottom line.
Okay, and any idea was
Because it went across the board, like, it wasn't like, merit is usually individual persons per raises. The whole department got a raise.
Right, there was a $37,000 increase if you look just at the PD salary line. there was 460,000 was budgeted, but 497,000 was spent year-to-date actual from 12/14/23. So there was an additional spending that was budgeted for last year, and that was not from the merit compensation. They just found it somewhere else.
Gotcha.
And
Which is
gave it to
risky
the
because
police
you don't know
department.
if next year's budget's gonna cover that.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, is like, knowing that the town has a 4% tax cap, you know, what is the process for issuing increases in pay beyond what's in merit pool, what's planned for and budgeted for? Because like, I understand like there could be money left at the bottom line because something else didn't get spent, but then like, you know that that's gonna impact the amount this budget raises when we come to where we are now. And I'm wondering like how the town administrator back then proposed that.
I don't know why I'm not following. what
The
you-
pay increases, when they increased the pay across the board for the police department.
The chief came in front of the board and said, listen, this is what's going on. This is what the towns are next door. This is the people that we're losing. We need to do something. And this was an action that we took to make sure that we retain the employees that we have.
Yeah, I understand that and I agree with it. I'm just wondering, like, from a budgetary standpoint, how that fits in. Because it was not budgeted at the beginning of the year.
No, it was not budgeted to
Right.
get that much, correct.
And it couldn't be covered by the merit compensation pool. So the answer is that it came out of the
Well, it could
bottom
have been
line.
covered, we could
Some
have
of it.
I don't have the math number of how much it cost, like, she said that increase was 37,000.
Yeah, 37,000.
Our merit is,
Budget and actual.
Right, that would
Well,
have meant that you would have to get.
it's true, because merit has zero spent out of it this year, so maybe some of it did come from merit
Well,
compensation.
no, the
but
zero, right,
It's
it
year to
always
date.
goes to zero.
Because it goes, they don't move it to that line?
Right, so it was right, it doesn't get moved to that line, it's always, the actual is always zero, but it's, you go by the budget number, so there was 56,901 was the budget.
But-
So 37, whatever,
Whatever
went
was
to the
in-
PD.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if it was 20,000 that went to everybody else, I'd be surprised that it wouldn't be more than that.
because we didn't have any
Right, it
highway
had to
employees
be-
to pay.
Well, and
That's true.
that may have been part of it, was
No.
like, there was no highway employees for a while, so it saved on actual salary, so,
And it showed.
right.
It definitely showed. There was a
Well-
spot on Fort Farm Road that was like
That's-
this. You could have flipped the car in it if you went in that ditch.
And remember, by the law, how it reads is that we actually have a town budget of
The total
bottom
bottom
line,
number.
whatever the bottom line is.
So-
We cannot expenditure that much. But if you need to move the line, I mean,
Right.
the guide for this year is a guide so people know where we're spending money.
Right.
But obviously, if you don't spend 1,000 here, you don't spend 1,000 here, you can.
So that's why, as much as these are suggestions to the Board of Selectmen, and that's what goes on the budget, ultimately, if things need to be spent out of it, it doesn't matter.
We just can't overspend the bottom.
Bottom line,
Right.
exactly. So what's your suggestion on this then, Bob? Do you have a number or do you have a percentage?
Yeah,
or
I was
anything?
between 10 and 15. I mean, it's still a raise. Some
So-
people don't get raises. I didn't get a raise, you know what I mean? But I'm expected to keep paying my taxes.
So the
know what I
proposed
mean?
budget says 76,150. What would you like to reduce that by? What do you?
I'm wondering if it makes more sense. It looks like the note says that it was a 4% increase. That's what it looks like. Populates from, I imagine, from all the salary lines, and then taking a 4% increase
That's correct, yes. It was
across all the
5%
salary lines.
originally.
And so I'm wondering if that makes more sense to touch that number than just to pick a dollar amount? It doesn't
Change
really
that
equate
4%
to any
3%
salaries.
or something?
What?
Change that 4% to 3%?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That to me makes more sense for math, so then you know, I know from the school board side, that's what we look like. We budget up to 3% for, or whatever. That's what, we use that as a percentage number because you're looking at different people's salaries. So if you're giving someone a 25 cents an hour increase versus someone whose salary is at a different rate, typically people, it's a percentage of your salary and not just like 25
Makes good
cents.
sense.
Well, they say inflation's coming down, right? The latest CPI was what, 3.2%? So 3% sounds reasonable.
I'm just saying, if we were to look at it as a number, that maybe makes more sense to do it as a percentage. That's how it's calculated to begin with.
So do we just suggest what is the number? We just ask Ellen, what is the number if it was 4%, or we just subtract a quarter off of this
That
number?
worksheet.
It says it's 4%.
It says it's
so-
calculated on 4% of salary, so if the suggestion is to decrease it to maybe look at 3% or what that number would be.
How about 3.2, since that's the inflation number currently?
Or adjust the percentage number. That would be my suggestion as a way to do it. And then if you're looking at most of your employees are getting 3%, some might get 2, some might get 4,
Right,
depending
exactly.
on,
That's the whole
but
point of the merit pool.
if your target number is about 3% for everyone, but then it's calculated on that.
That's how it's calculated. There was a form we got with everyone's salaries, bottom line of all departments, it's based by the salaries. It was originally 5%, it was $104,000, 50 here and 50 in the police, okay? We went it back in the police, and then she reduced it to 4%, or the BOS might did it, I'm not sure.
Right.
Is there enough support then for the Board of Select to discuss this?
Yeah, I think
They
they-
would reduce it to 3%.
They could discuss it.
Just to
And
discuss
also, an argument for that would be that the employees in town that were most needing of a raise were the police and the library, and it sounds like they both already got their pay increases in the last few months.
If this budget here, the library will get there.
Well, it wasn't even clear, I don't know, did we get a clear answer whether or not those increases were already granted or not?
They weren't.
They weren't?
We didn't see it. I don't think they did either, because they never in their budget to grant that much more money.
Okay, but the police, they already got
can't-
it, so
they can't come
they're
like we
good.
can and take it from our bottom line.
Right.
Like, we can play with the money. They can't come and say, and just take out of the budget
So-
without, with the Board of Selectmen.
Gotcha.
So they're really strict with, they say, I got 104,000, or whatever it is. That's it. They don't have an extra 20,000 to say, hey, we think you're great, we're gonna hire you, without coming to the board to say, you need to find, or something like that, so.
Anything else on page 1 then, suggestions for the board to discuss? Well, suggestions for us to discuss, for the board to discuss.
No, I like the more, I like the
Is
more
this
than
is working?
3%.
Okay.
No, and I think that's, I suggested that last time too.
Hey!
I listened to, yeah, All right,
Go, page 1, page 2. Page 2.
I think the line 33 office supplies, there's like $1,200 added to that for a laptop to be purchased for elections and additional TC work in office. $1,200 will buy a pretty good laptop these days. I think you could probably lower that a bit and still get a reasonably decent laptop. I mean, people aren't playing games on this. They don't really need a big GPU or anything.
That includes the Office subscription.
Is there a reason we have to use Microsoft Office and we can't just use the free
I see, it says
cloud-based
software.
services and
That's
stuff? Like,
software.
Yes, because it's required for the state election stuff.
That's right, I remember
Gotcha.
that. Yeah.
But that's why that one was more expensive than the other one.
still, my guess is you could shave a couple $100 off the cost of the laptop. I mean, they're getting cheaper and cheaper. It's one of the few
That
things
was
that
the
is
quote-
getting cheaper.
That was the quote that they got, so, I don't know.
Where every dollar counts, I understand, but I think we should be looking at line items that's like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000.
Well, John,
If we want to be able to put any money back in for the highway department for that 200.
John, last year I spent many hours going through here and I made a lot of reductions that were $100, $200, $50, and that got us under the tax cap. And it was like 90 different changes. So, you know, you can poo-poo $100 here and there, but it does add up. I know it's easier to just take out $200,000 in road maintenance and call it a day, but
At least the people know where it is, but sure.
So do we want to suggest a few hundred, or we want to move on?
I don't know, just move on. That's just something that we can do later. I don't think they need to discuss it.
Okay. Elections.
Is it for the new people, election training, 43?
Is elections because of the multiple elections this year? Is
Yeah,
that really,
lots
it's
of
the number of
elections.
hours, right,
Yeah.
Yep.
needed?
This is 4 elections scheduled for 2024.
Oh, okay.
Another laptop.
Is that where the cost was? They said that it was extra expensive because of all the absentee ballots, and I don't remember if that was in town clerk's responsibility.
That was under the postage part,
Was it? Okay.
right? That note's there under, on line 31.
I mean, did they change the law or anything? I know there was exemptions with COVID that you could say that you were afraid of COVID and then you could get an absentee ballot. I don't know if that was an emergency order that has lapsed, but maybe the town should start, mildly enforcing the absentee ballot policies and encouraging people to come vote in person, since that costs us a whole lot less.
They can take an absentee ballot, vote right away, hand it in, and it basically doesn't cost any postage. So
Just get rid of that.
that's like the easiest thing to do, if you actually do it, but it's the requests that come in that, it's mostly probably requests for people who are in the service or college students, things like that, are the ones that have to get mailed.
No, I don't agree with that.
I think the way the law is written, it's roughly,
Right, I mean, anybody.
if you don't think you're gonna be around, you can request a
it to
ballot.
get mailed in, but I think most people pick them up.
But there's
I don't know.
there's
I've
been
had
an
people that
increase,
went on
right?
vacation and they did theirs because they were on vacation. They took
just
this, their
requested.
vacation was more important, but they had, my mother lives in Florida over the course of the winter. But her full-time residency is Nottingham. She doesn't have absentee ballots and so does her husband, because they're not in town.
So they have.
I would too.
But that's, those are the people
I
that,
would not vote because I'm not around.
those are the people I think that are using the absentee. I don't think it's for.
But presumably, the number of people that are on vacation and in the services and that type of thing, that's been static over the years, or roughly similar. It's since COVID, we saw an increase in the absentee ballot numbers, and an increase in the amount paid for postage and all of this stuff. And now that COVID is over and we're not in an emergency situation anymore, we should be returning to normal, and we shouldn't have excess absentee ballot voting.
So is
That's
there-
all I'm saying.
Is there a reduction that you're?
Absolutely agree with you a lot on that,
But
but
I don't
because
think
the
it's-
fact that, and I'll say this up front, people want to do the things the easiest way possible, and it's
Mm-hmm.
sure a lot easier to have it to your house and just send it in the mail.
Probably.
And that's the reason why they're probably doing it, because it's easier than, I don't have to take time out of my day, I don't have to miss work, I can just do it this way, and it doesn't interfere with my schedule, and I get my thing in. That's easy. That's why they do it.
Right.
If you're gonna lose some pay to go vote.
Yeah, I don't wanna say my selectmen's, but, I'm there 10 hours or 12 hours a thing, and I have to take all 4 of those days, my company does not pay for those days, so I'm taking them as sick time or vacation time that I'm using for those days. So the little salary that the selectmen do make, because I have to be at the election from open to close, and there's 4 of them, so I get there for 8 in the morning, and we don't leave till midnight, and I'm only an 8-hour day, I'm losing pay, so we won't say the whole thing, but
Yeah, that's
this is something that, just think when you take the selectman's salary, so when we do elections, we're there all day long.
That's a lot.
Are you getting paid out of the election workers' salary thing for that?
No,
Okay.
no, they require,
And again, I enjoyed the whole process for me, but I'm just saying that if we want to nitpick money-wise, well,
Well, it's an impediment to getting people to run or to volunteer.
yeah, but whatever, come on, sorry.
All right, anything else on,
All right, I was just gonna go, I was
suggestions?
gonna buy comparative towns.
I'm just kidding, again, I'm just bringing it up.
Suggestions for the selectmen on
2004, right?
pages 2 or 3?
Yeah, I'm giving up my salary for the budget.
Where's your stipend?
Okay, anything on 2 or 3? Any suggestions? Let's move down 4 and 5. What do you guys think on line 115? This miscellaneous planning board, the dues that we pay so that Nottingham could be a dues or a voting member? I remember this last year, I think we decided that it really wasn't that important,
I
at least
thought
in
it
my
was.
opinion. And then
I thought
it says here the select board
It was taken out of
removed
the
it and then
budget.
it was added back at deliberative?
Correct.
Okay.
Ed Veal spoke at deliberation to get it to add back in.
Okay.
And that's how it got added back in, but we did cut it off this last year.
Did we get a sense if we actually saved any money? Because I think one of the arguments was that we were purchasing all of these services from SRPC at an à la carte price. And the argument was that if we became full members or something, that we would get some of those included. And I don't think I've ever been shown any compelling evidence that we're saving money by doing that. It seems like now the talking point is that, well, we want to have voting rights in the meetings or it won't be exciting enough for people to show up, that they don't want to show up if they can't vote in the meeting.
I don't feel like that's particularly important.
I don't either. I mean, if these meetings are not exciting enough and worthwhile enough to go to, then we shouldn't be paying for them. The excitement of voting at them is the reason you go. It must not be a very useful meeting. And I've not seen, if someone out there has evidence that we're saving money by not purchasing the services à la carte, then I'm certainly willing to listen to that, but I've not seen it.
I felt like Ed put forth a pretty compelling argument to belong to this organization, but I can't remember exactly what he said, so.
Do you know if he's the one who goes to the meetings and wanted to vote? Okay.
No. And I do remember at the time, it seemed very compelling.
Teresa Basselman and I think Charlene Anderson are the two reps for this.
Yeah, I'd like more information.
Because Gary Anderson was the rep before, and he was non-voting. But, you know, I always thought it was weird because it's Stratford Regional Planning.
Yeah.
Guess where Nottingham is? Rockingham County.
Yeah, but it's technically closer, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
So is this something we'd like to request the BOS to reduce?
I think I would like to just see an actual financial argument that we're saving money by paying for the
Right,
thing.
and I agree, Tom, that would be the right thing to get, and I agree with you too, Charlotte, that Ed did say stuff that was compelling, but I don't recall exactly
I don't
what.
either, yeah, I would like more information.
And that isn't
Yeah.
all or nothing, so you can't shave.
Yeah, we can't change.
Right,
That's
right,
the
it's an all or
difference.
nothing, exactly.
How much was it?
$6,600.
165?
6,650.
That's a nice chunk of change. All right.
So can I ask though, if those à la carte things, if there are things that need to be purchased, is there a line? Is there a budget line for those separately?
Right.
Do you know if those have tracked?
Probably have
I
to look and
remember
see
him
what we
saying
paid in
get stuff at a
2022.
reduced rate.
Right.
It wasn't
Probably planning, legal
Well,
services,
So, like, where
113.
this thing here too is, you know, you got road mapping that's done by Stratford Regional Planning. You've got town mapping, which is done by Stratford Regional Planning. You know, those are helping with different road studies, you know, culverts, where they are, like mapping where it just,
Yeah, I think their mapping services was what
that
it
was.
was really
prob-
emphasized.
Was
It
probably
of great
the,
value.
exactly.
And
Didn't we get a state grant to pay for the culvert mapping? And don't we get mapping, GIS mapping and stuff from, what's the people that do our evaluation?
Oh, Avatar?
Avatar, we pay for an online mapping component from Avatar.
I sat on the plan, this is me personally, not as a board of selectmen, but years ago when I was sitting on the planning board, and I sat there for 6 years, my 2 terms, you know, we were never part of this.
All right, I think we could take it out.
Okay.
So, I was back in 2014 or whatever, 2000, in that time frame. It was always talking about putting it back in the budget. And we did notice that we did take the cut for the planner though.
Take the, oh,
So,
28 to 20.
28 to 22.
$6,000
Yep.
Now it's one of the suggestions that came from the board before.
anything else on 4 and 5? Legal, personnel, planning? I know we're talking about cuts, but I remember our discussion on 112, the master plan. I think I almost feel like that would be much more valuable to have, like, in good shape than voting opportunities, but
and it didn't sound like we would get any of that from
from them.
From this,
No,
right.
something else.
I think it was rough, it would roughly cost $10,000 to do, but there's some of it that doesn't need to be redone.
Right.
I think they were trying to do it
Piece by
that,
piece.
piece by piece, $1,000 a year,
All right, let's keep it at
Well,
that. then.
just to keep it being updated.
And John, we found out that you guys can apply for a Moose grant, and they would probably be able to cover the full cost of redoing the master plans, conservation and natural resources stuff.
Good to know.
I think we should cut line 112 to $1, because I mean, I've looked at the master plan. And it's not really a lot of detail to like, as far as planning purposes. So I think if we were gonna update the master plan, like changing the dates on it would be about appropriate to update, and calling it a day, you know, spending $10,000 to update the master plan that we have, I think is a ridiculous waste of resources.
I think you could
Is it
probably
1,000?
form a volunteer
Is that
committee.
1,000
to
right
go
now?
through
It's
it.
1,000, yeah.
No, well, no, $10,000 to
Over the
update it,
course.
but over the course to update it all. So I'm saying spend $1 and have somebody go change some dates, and here's our updated master plan. Because the product we have now isn't providing a lot of value. So to spend $10,000 and say that the updated plan is gonna provide $10,000 of value, I just don't think that case can be made.
John, has that facilities, building commission, is that done?
What do you mean by
There
done?
was some volunteer group
Oh,
of
yeah,
people.
yeah.
They've wrapped up their work?
We wrapped it up, but I can't. Shayna.
Well, you were there. You were on the committee.
Yes, I know. We've wrapped up our initial charge from the selectmen and, you know, created this report. I'm trying to encourage us sort of going on, that maybe the selectmen could appoint subcommittees if we were to, you know, move the police or, you know, deal with various aspects. I hate to just let it go, have another, you know, bunch of paper that then just everybody goes, ugh. You know, I'd like to see something.
Yeah, because I saw your final report and I thought it was very good, and I'm just, you know, that was a totally volunteer effort that didn't cost us anything. And I think we could form a volunteer panel of people to review these master plans. Maybe I'll volunteer to be on it. And, you know, we could read through all the chapters and we could point out anything that like is grossly out of date, right? And then we could say, oh, let's make a little bit of changes here and there. And then we can do what was suggested here, which is picking one chapter a year to go through in a little bit more detail. But I think I don't think we have to pay thousands of dollars to
It's
review
like a
this.
book club.
Yeah,
First idea, yeah.
Okay. 112.
But as towards the building committee, there was a $40,000 line, warrant article that was put in to hire a consulting company or, you know, to manage all the things that we're gonna need to get done in town and, you know, manage the money. And we did have an interview with somebody, whether we finalized his hiring or not, but he was going to be the guy that's gonna implement all the, repairs and all the
And to keep
suggestions.
records and look at
Everything.
warranties, and everything is so scattered.
And there's jobs that he'll do in town also to help, you know, incur his costs.
so this is that warrant article money to contract a maintenance person.
$40,000.
So this essentially filled the, I know the town for years has been wanting to get a handyman position. Would they essentially fill that role too?
It's, so for the guy we interviewed, he wasn't quote unquote wanted to be the handyman, but wanted to be the coordinator, because what we need to do is any project over $5,000, we gotta get 3 bids, you gotta do this, you gotta write the bid for it, I mean, it's time consuming, especially when it comes to everything that possibly could be spent around here. How many bids, it's wired, that's what his job will be, but it's also the fact of saying, you have some skills, you know, you're.
To get to evaluate
Well,
those.
and
Yeah,
skills
yeah.
to do things, like, hey, you know, this needs to be
Put the
fixed
door
over
on
here,
there,
because there's dedicated hours, we're not just gonna pay somebody, sure, I'm only gonna work 5 hours a week, but you're gonna pay me $100, you know, that wasn't no, we're not,
So it's not just like an administrative type of thing, it's somebody
right,
who's
there's
hands-on as well.
hands-on and administrative.
So are they gonna be a contracted person or is it gonna be a new town employee?
I think it's.
It's a subcontract, yeah, he's gonna be not under the benefits. Because again, that's how the article was written. Now, whether he becomes a town employee down the road, well, I guess we'll see on the performance, what happens, and what the need is.
But the idea was somebody who could really vet companies, who could, even put out, like, if we had one electrical company do any electric repairs for all the buildings, would they give us a discount? If we contracted with a painting company, one painting company to do all the town buildings, would they give us a discount? That we could save money, and our records are in such disarray. You know, it was hard to, we were trying to explore this back area, and, you know, there's a 10 or 11-year-old engineering report that I think, thank heavens for Kelly Delaire, that she dug up for us, but things are really in disarray, so it's putting things together.
What it's also is potentially gonna help is all the suggestions that you make, or the suggestions about the mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
Now we have somebody dedicated where, you know, we all
They
have
can look
great
into
plans,
it.
but we don't have enough time to do things, but now you can say, hey, look into the cost of 2 mowers, what it's gonna cost, you know,
Exactly.
or maybe we can, those are tasks that we can actually pay somebody to do in order to, so we can make sure we're spending our money down the road long. This is the guy.
Sounds
Somebody's
good.
gotta be able to-
I like the policing and researching warranties and stuff like that. And I see so many things replaced that would be under a manufacturer's warranty, and people just don't think of it, you know? You can buy all kinds of stuff with crazy warranties now, you know? And a lot of time goes by the wayside if there's somebody putting their eyes on it. It's good.
Well, that's, again, and to put things down the road, it says, hey, our furnace was updated on this date here. The next major update for the furnace is gonna be on this, let's have a
Yep.
calendar for this. We updated this here too, by the way, we replaced all the toilets and sinks on this amount of date.
Yep.
It's actually, because we don't have any record of, what did we do 2 years ago? I have no idea.
Yep.
So now we'll have something.
And to stop throwing large amounts of money into patchwork stuff that, you know, isn't gonna
You
stay.
get on a
Like, make those
maintenance
decisions,
schedule.
what can be patchwork?
It's like your car. If you don't do nothing to it, it's gonna cost you a crap load of money.
I'm
Maintain it over the course
I think
of
it's
the
just
time.
common sense,
I'm
really.
totally for maintaining
That's what the guy is.
What
maintaining
we got, right? Yeah.
town buildings and things of that nature, because if you don't, it goes to
It's expensive.
crap
right.
quick, and
So
it's
you're talking about
it's
killing
nice to take care of them.
Sorry, we're gonna
Yeah,
kill
what
line
line?
112 and 115, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Next page, starting on 117 or 145, 6 and 7. Zoning, building, cemeteries, insurance. Start a PD.
So 128, right, mowing?
Yep. Mowing, shoveling. Town hall.
Is that
That's a lot of
contracted,
money to mow, isn't it?
contracted snow removal there?
Which line are we on?
128.
28.
$6,000 does seem like an awful lot of money for mowing and shoveling.
Where? Just
Right
this
here.
building?
Yeah.
Just how long?
Yeah,
Is
just
it the
this town
field
hall.
out there too?
No, that's not the
different.
field, that's what are they mowing?
And they were complaining at the Historical Society that those steps weren't always done.
We'll get some inmates down here with some shovels.
Yeah.
What else
He'd be
does
happy
that
to get out
cover?
some fresh
Schedule them
air.
for every snowstorm.
Um,
Don't
Is
forget, we
that-
gotta feed them
Well,
lunch.
that mowing is that whole field out there, though,
No.
right?
Oh,
That
That-
falls under Parks and Rec.
That's
That's
on
not-
that
that's-
line's
Yeah, what
147.
about back here?
Then I don't know what that would be.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, not
I
147.
think, I think when they mow, I think, I mean, I don't know if it's the same
Mowing
person.
is, you've got the whole hill here
Right,
on the side.
yep.
You have the whole front here that has to be done, the whole, over the leach field area.
Yep.
That all has to, again, and then the shoveling part, we added in there is because had a guy that was supposed to be here for, but again, nobody works for nothing. You know, but he was, you know, what is it, $15 to $18 an hour, he's gonna be part-time, so you figure that. Again, but I don't think we even hired a guy. I think the guy we had last year didn't. And I think what it was Chris Sterndale was doing it for a while, but there's no, again, this is not sexist by any means here, so please don't say, you know, but there's no man, you know, besides Dale that's in the building that's gonna go shovel 6 inches of snow out there. And I'm not saying if anyone wants to step up and volunteer, go right ahead, but I'm just, you know,
I believe,
sex.
I believe my son actually is handling the mowing here, or not the mowing, the shoveling. So he's got a contract with Ellen per inch and stuff, so. Depends how many storms we have, but Tucker is the, as far as I know.
Kids down.
But, I don't know, you wanna reduce that, Bob, did you go up 20%? Any suggestions, or we just, it is what it is?
It's gonna put it back to $5,000 that it was last year.
We didn't overspend, oh, just by a little bit.
240.
Yeah, we did by a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that would just be,
Put it back to 5,000.
Five?
yeah, you have to have some for shot, well, right, it's,
What is that, 5, right?
No, it's at 6.
That's 6, 128.
The actual was a little lower.
5250.
Reduced by 750. Hey, every little bit counts, actually.
Right, well, that's what we spent last year, so.
that's fine.
All right,
I
128.
mean, because ideally, you'd want to try to consolidate the mow and pull it all out, right?
Yeah.
That's what, so it's mowed by a different person than does the fields? So if someone comes and does the
Probably.
fields and doesn't do the hill?
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah,
It is
it's
crazy,
all-
but that's
They're
what. I think-
different?
But that's
Well,
what we're
Is it
gonna
different
do
equipment?
together, yeah.
That's paid for by rec.
Right,
They're
right.
different lines, for sure.
They're different lines, yeah.
We don't have just a one solid mower, because that'd be great if we did go on to there.
Yeah.
Is if you could find somebody in town that's gonna work for $25 an hour, you give them all the equipment they need.
Mow
And instead of
everything.
do it for, average probably only costs 30 hours, you're still looking at $700 a week that you're paying for 26 weeks. So it comes to $24,000,
Who mows up
without
this
any
later?
equipment or any maintenance equipment. If you average that to mow everything in town, takes 30 hours, everything. I'm talking Marston here and everything like this. And you average the guy who makes $25 an hour to mow. Now, not including equipment or anything like this, it's still gonna be $700 for 26 weeks.
It takes 30 hours.
No, it
To mow
doesn't.
everything.
I can get you accurate numbers. The guy that used to do it here for years. He told me the school takes 6 hours by himself. He used to send his helper down there on weekends, 6 hours. 2 to 3 hours up at the cemetery, that's with the crew by himself. He's up there for a couple, it's a good part of
There's
the
3
day.
cemeteries.
That's correct. I'm sorry, there's 3 cemeteries. I'm just talking about the one on 156.
Right.
He used
Well,
to do.
there's 3, but and that takes time to go to those other 2 smaller ones.
Those are time consuming. Those are all-
Yeah, the
Sure,
biggest
probably
one
takes
is
more to do
156.
cemetery than it does.
So I can get an, average of what it takes time. He was breaking down a little bit. Like I said, he's done it for years. It's someone that's done it, so I thought it'd be pretty accurate.
So with this being over 8,000, this being $6,000, does that mean it goes out to bid, John?
No, it's a line item.
Is there a contract?
Budget.
Is a contract, is there a contract though? I mean,
Yeah, right now, Chad Fairholt is the guy that's doing the North Cemetery, South Cemetery, Town, and something else for us.
So shouldn't we put that out for a bid and see if anyone wants to compete? And because that's probably how we'll find the cheapest way to do it, right? Is to get some competition.
Well, I think he was originally, because he's a
Probably.
local guy in town, all the stuff's here in town. Well, I'll bring it in, but sure.
so that it does, just because they're on different line items doesn't mean that's not done by the same person,
Well,
right? Is what
everything by the town is done by
I
one
know.
person.
Right, so
The
it's a
rec is done by
cemetery.
differently.
Okay. So some of them, so the cemeteries could also be the same as this line?
Right.
Okay, even though they're in different lines in the budget.
So is there a consensus on how much to, we would suggest to remove it? John said 750, is that sound reasonable?
5250.
Worth the discussion.
Yeah, it's worth a discussion. I mean, if you plan on trying to have the, highway department take it over by 0 turns, whatever,
Yeah.
it would,
Yeah, I think we
Be
could.
zero.
To be the way to go.
plus the school too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's separate, so.
I like it. All right, anything else
Because
on?
the school doesn't have a mower, right?
No, they hire someone out too.
So you could potentially share the town's mower.
Offering the town's mower that doesn't exist to the school?
Yes, it's easy.
It's the taxpayer's mower.
But the
this-
town should be doing that
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
for-
They should.
And
be
those
Department
are,
of Public
those are
Works.
things that would be, I think, great if they were in place. That's the same as our maintenance person in our building is a person who, shovels our walkways and stuff, because we have a full-time custodian who then, that's his responsibility. So there's, some of those things, but he does not have the time in his day to be mowing all the fields, so. So those are contracted. And again, those are not all year-round things either. You're not mowing 12 months a year, right?
I forgot to look at the budget, how much we're paying to have it mowed. I have to, if someone has one of those books, I forgot to look. It's 6
I need the
hours.
book tonight. That's what,
Yeah.
Pardon me?
we didn't need that book.
Oh, I forgot to
So-
look.
But yeah, I think consolidating any of those things would be great. Okay.
I mean, do we see a cemetery line anywhere? Is it separate?
163.
63 and 60.
They spent almost $10,000 this year.
What?
Primarily for
Yeah, that's
cemetery
what
mowing.
it says.
Holy moly,
Yeah.
there's a lot of money.
So 6,500 was. That's for, primarily for
And
mowing.
we spent almost
How much does
10,000
that, how
last
much
year
does that
on
mower
mowing.
cost?
A good commercial zero, I have a commercial zero turn, a couple years old, is 12 grand for a Ferris, 37 horsepower, Kawasaki. Bought it right down to 125. I mean, Skags are good, Bobcat's another good one, Hayden in Newfields, they handle everything, you know what I mean, too. And if you worry about the main, so I heard too, you have a guy in town, small engine repair, right there in town. Drop it off right there. It's simple, give it back to the taxpayer, some money, you know what I mean, help him pay his taxes.
So basically, for the cost of mowing the cemeteries for this year, we could have had one mower.
Almost.
Well, that's 12, so that's inflation. You could get a really good commercial. Mine's a step down from what do you call it, from a college. A college would get a diesel motor, and it's, you know, mine's a step down. 37 horsepower is a pretty big mower, 61-inch cut. You can go to 72-inch, you know what I mean? 61's decent size too. So you're looking probably 15 grand for a commercial mower, hardcore, doing it 7 days, you know, it's meant to do 7 days a week. You know, just hammering it, you know what I mean?
What's the maintenance schedule?
Main schedule. You want to sharpen the blades. I mean, if you're mowing every single day, you want to sharpen blades every day. If you're mowing like 15 lawns, I do like 15 lawns a day by myself, you know what I mean? Supposed to sharpen them every day.
Because that's one of the big problems is that with these equipments is the maintenance. that you gotta
Right.
do.
Yeah, like I said, you got the small engine repair guy right there in town.
Screwed.
Right.
Right, well, that was my solution, because if you add up the school, this and that, you can buy 2 brand-new ones, so you have a backup. Okay, everyone's like, we don't have a mower, we don't have a mower. Well, you're looking at $40,000 in mowing, the cemetery in here, Fossfield, Marson Field, right, plus the school, plus the square, plus the 3 cemeteries, right? Everyone keeps saying that, but you can buy 2 brand-new zero turns, so in case if one breaks, I get it, because I have 2 also, in case one breaks, you're shut down, so.
Also, if it breaks, we're not screwed. I mean, the
No, it's
guy-
under warranty.
Shaggy, it's not like if we lost our snow.
You can
plows.
buy one this year and put one next year. You
Right.
still savings out of the budget, and then you'd be good for a while. And the maintenance is just like, you just change the oil and hydraulic fluid, you know, so many hours. I just always do it a little sooner than later, you know what I mean? Because it's so cheap. It's only a quart of oil. Same thing with hydraulic fluid, you know what I mean?
Presumably, the highway guys know how to do all this.
I still have one, but I'm getting out of it. I'm burned out. I work 2 jobs plus over 7 hours of overtime. I'm burnt out. That's why I'm doing this. So I would recommend getting the tires. They're solid in the front, so you don't have to worry about tires going flat. And I also have a spare tire on the rim in case one goes flat. I just know the stuff. I know what slows you down. You need 2 weed whackers, 2 blowers. One breaks, you grab one, you keep going. You know what I mean?
That seems sensible.
And everyone's like, it's not that much money to get started. It really isn't.
I think the bigger thing is determining who would be doing this, because you start adding a person's salary and adding any people, that's really where, I mean,
If we
right? You
have
gotta pay
add-
employees. So if there's an employee, or if looking at, you know, people who work at the recycling center, could we have them full-time in the other days of the week? You know, I'm not saying, I'm just
Right, or the
throwing
highway
things out.
department.
Or a highway department, you know, but is the highway department fully staffed but grading roads every day? You know, I don't know, and these are
Well, we ran without,
beyond me.
with understaffed, like 2 people or 3 people for, you know,
Right.
and we still did a good job. Not
So-
understaffed.
You just said a couple minutes ago how bad the roads
Well, besides that one, besides that one.
Yeah.
Well, it
you
was
could-
mostly a good job, except for the 4.
So-
Well, I don't think we had a director either at the time, you know what I mean, the guy in charge, you know what I mean, it's going through that.
So I think that the larger piece is who would be doing that, and that, the time it would take for a person
well,
to
you
be
just-
doing
you
that.
just-
Because some of the savings you get in paying a contractor is you're not paying health and benefits, and you're paying for what you need for that many hours a week. And even if you compile it all together, if it requires another person, the savings is washed away from that
Hey,
savings.
John,
That's all I'm saying in that equation.
Some towns are outsourcing everything, their highway department, everything. A lot of these places, like in Florida and stuff, the mayors, they got, oh, it's beautiful. No pensions, no healthcare, no nothing, and they do a better job. I'm not saying it's gonna happen here, but a lot of towns are moving that way too, because it's unsustainable, you can see. You know what I mean? It's unsustainable. Our budgets are gonna be pensions, healthcare, and payroll. I mean, it's getting there.
Hey, John, if the highway department's fully staffed, are they slower in the summertime versus the wintertime? Like as far as, having someone available to do some of this stuff?
Some
I would
winters, some
have to
winters it
ask
could be the other way around.
At my time, I never got into the full scheme of everything that the highway department does. I never got to sit with, our old director wasn't the greatest, so whatever, we're not just gonna leave it at that. So I don't know what they do or how they allocate their time or I just know this is the project that they're taking care of and, towards what their downtime is, whether they're fixing machines or they're running at the pit, with dirt, or every time I drive by when I have a day off, no one's there, so I figure they're doing something somewhere, so that's what's going on, I don't know.
Well, if you start watering and fertilizing, that'd save money too.
All right, so what page,
That's
so
mowing.
let's stick to our suggestions for the BOS. So anything else from lines 117 to 176?
Yeah, I got a question. The fire station building maintenance, or, not that one, sorry. The electric and the heat.
Line item? Line item.
New fire building electric is 140, and the heat.
151?
151?
Yeah, those are both.
Yeah, so these are all like greatly increased, and I don't think we ever got a real answer why. It kind of sounds like people are just leaving the heat on in the engine bays and everything. I mean,
We
that's
asked
a
about
huge
the-
increase.
I know we asked about the electricity, because we were discussing the solar and stuff that's
Yeah.
on the roof, and
Well, there's
Right,
plumbing
see-
in those buildings, so there needs to be some heat.
Sure, but
There's
it was
always
heated
been
in the
a-
past,
It's-
you know?
It's the increase.
we're looking at the jump between years on what the costs were.
And I think it was floated that maybe because they're 24-hour shift, that it's heated more and
Right,
I
that's
guess
what-
more
that's
electricity.
the
That
only
was
thing
kind
I
of
could think
the
of.
only thing that was put out there, but we don't know for
There's
sure.
also 2 new rooms upstairs that are heated for bedrooms. But I don't know if it's that kind of cost, 2 rooms.
Right, well, it's a big jump in electric, for sure.
Especially when you get solar.
Yeah, but again, maybe those 2 rooms upstairs, because they weren't in, those might be electric heat for those rooms.
Could be.
Because again, it's not a baseboard up on the second floor that they,
So is that something where we could just have a heat pump installed or something that could be a little more efficient?
I thought that's what they told us.
I haven't looked into them, I haven't seen them. Go for it.
Field trip. Let's go.
The headline 147, electric, Marston, is for the sprinklers.
147?
Yes, 147.
I don't think we know. Do you want me to?
Oh, there are 2 147s, oh, right.
Oh,
that's
pit
another
smoke,
one.
that should be 149.
Oh, 149.
6, 7, 8, 49.
Is this just a spreadsheet? What are the numbers?
Yeah, I mean,
It's a spreadsheet, right? There's numbers in it?
it should be, but these aren't the numbers of the side. They're just,
I'm sorry, Bob, what was your question?
That's what they said it was for the sprinkler?
This is electric Marston, so is that the
Didn't they have to
well?
heat the well out there? Didn't they have to
That's
heat
a
the
lot of
house?
money to heat.
Yeah,
it.
you'd have to heat it.
It did freeze, right?
It did freeze and there's
Freeze.
problems. I think maybe that's what it is.
I mean, is there lighting out there?
No.
Not for that price, I wouldn't think.
So it has to all be the.
I think it's the heat for the well house.
that's
That's
probably
the
the
only.
minimum, it's probably the minimum.
That too.
Oh, electric, yeah.
That's probably to run the pump for water
Right, but
sprinklers.
it's probably at the minimum amount, because they have like, whatever, the electric companies do have minimum.
What you have to pay. Just like when you have propane, you don't use it, but they still charge you to.
Exactly. Or they
Have
charge
it
you
at
to
your
come
house?
pick up their.
Well, this is over $100 a month, so it's more than the minimum.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just barely.
Any suggestions, or we
There's
just?
no other
Hard
electric
to
over
get
there.
any kind of electricity for less than $100 a month, for anything.
Right, we're wondering what's it for.
Right.
No, I've been to barns.
That's,
Well, there's
that's,
definitely got to be some sort of heating mechanism on the well
Yeah, there must be.
pump over
well,
there.
remember, that's a 220, so that's,
No, if, there was, it froze.
Still froze, yeah.
It froze previously. There was something happened and it froze.
yeah, I heard, that's what I said.
So I think
I
there's
was asking
got to
how
be
much
some
it
sort
was.
of
You've gotta
mechanism.
be right, there's gotta be maybe some wrapping.
But there's
around
only
the
that
pipes.
small little building, so there's not any other electricity.
There's probably heat tape on some
Yeah, there's
portion of
gotta
the
be heat
water,
tape.
and then there's probably like a small fan force wall heater or something in the barn, but it's still.
And to run the sprinklers too, right, all summer.
sprinklers
You're
now.
running a huge pump.
Yeah.
It is not a home, it's not your home regular water pump that's in there. I mean, you're pumping hundreds of gallons at a time to
Yeah.
all those fields.
Water's heavy, so
That
you gotta
sucker
lift it
must
up.
be running,
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
I mean, that probably right there probably costs $20 a day just to run it.
But that also only
That just
runs
seems high
half the
because
year.
I got sprinklers too. I have a well pump too. Not all those fields, but maybe a quarter of it. I don't see that in my electric bill.
Again, it's not the same pump either.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you're right. Probably bigger pump.
But that's all,
That one
right,
went
that's
down
gotta be,
1,000 something feet, so it's got a lot more, I don't know if that makes a difference on how much.
1,000 feet?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, this thing, don't matter how.
Maybe hit the water. Yeah, that's a deep well. 1,000.
That was,
It's
well, that's why it was so
It's 1,000 feet
expensive.
down?
It's deep.
Mine's like 200 and something.
Yeah,
Jeez,
it's
1,000.
not 200.
That's geez, 1,000's huge.
I
That
don't know
is
if it's
huge.
1,000, but let me tell you.
It's gotta have a huge pump just to pump.
Yeah.
The process, the thing for the well is that it will never go dry.
Never say never.
Well, if it goes dry, this whole town's going
I was
dry.
gonna say.
It'll never go dry till it freezes. And that doesn't work.
But you know, even though when you go back, you start one of these items here, you look at the fire department building and you said, we were just questioning the 4,600 for electricity. But then you go down and you look at the next item for the dump, the recycling center. My bad. But we're spending 4,600
See, Brent?
on heat there too. I mean, on electricity there too.
Yeah, but they're one of those
They're running
compactors though, right?
Right, but it's only open 3 days a week.
That's true.
It's not open 7 days, it's not.
Is there outdoor lighting?
But you're running 220 all day long. You know, it's like running my air compressor at my house. You know, I mean, it'll spike it. Or someone has a hot tub at their house,
Yeah, but
right?
they're
That's on
running,
all the
they're
time.
running AC units in there, I mean, they're, the
Yeah.
wall unit AC units they're running in, I mean, I'm just saying that, you got one really crappy small building that's being sucked in, I mean, the heating system, but.
Don't they also use the waste oil that gets disposed of?
Oh,
They
yeah,
burn
Yeah, it's
that?
nice in there. It's
That's
toasty
pretty
in there.
much that's the heating system, it's, except for when, you know, I'm not there to run it.
Besides, there's a line for heat
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's another
He
line.
went down.
157.
Yeah. Yeah, they actually went, yeah. I mean, the actuals are only 1,500, but it's budgeted at 27.
You guys good on 6 and 7?
So,
Alright, turn it over, 177, so 236. Police, fire, building.
I thought with that fire station heat, so we have people there 24/7 now, right? We're fully staffed around the clock.
Except for I think Sunday, but.
In general, there's always people at the fire station. Could we get like an outdoor wood boiler? I mean, we're rich in trees around here, and it's a carbon neutral fuel source.
Process of getting wood, right?
Yeah, then feeding, again.
And
that
then you
was-
gotta have somebody,
Who's gotta feed it?
do it, yeah.
You get to
they
feed
are
it.
firemen.
Yeah,
That is true.
they're probably the most qualified in the town.
You'd have to feed all the time. My buddy had one in Smoke Street, and he just went under the ordinance because they changed the law. We had to go higher up in the stack and stuff. And it has a propane backup, so if it shuts off, propane would kick on.
Yeah, well, presumably that they already have a heating system. This would just be a supplemental thing. if people are sitting around at the fire station 24 hours a day, it's not a problem to throw some wood
But
in
you
there
need,
once
you
in a
need the
while.
wood though. See, he was a landscaper, so you got the wood for free.
Yeah.
No one's pine, so
I'm
you,
sure the town cleans up a good amount of trees from storms and stuff.
Not enough to-
Not
not
enough?
that much.
They usually just push it off to
As
the
I
side
say,
of the road.
they
Yeah.
push it. I don't think they're picking it up.
We also get full dumpsters full of wood at the recycling center that could be burned for energy.
that is true. I think about
Yeah,
that.
except that you probably can't burn that because it's construction material.
And just remember, again, I'm not saying anything negative about anybody, but you have a piece of equipment like that. Let's just say we get a firefighter that's not up to par, and he by accidentally, stupidly touches the door. Now he's out on disability for 8 months and we're paying a full-time employee. There's a liability cost of, I don't wanna say, again, I'm saying people in general, but I'm gonna put it bluntly, stupidity.
Well, that's with everything,
Let's
though.
not put a potential hazard where the town could be now liable for, I mean, because again, if, let's say that situation happened, that he touched and he burned himself for his full-time bed, we're gonna pay for everything.
Didn't he go to a firefighting school where they teach you to like touch the door handle first before you grab it? Like, like half the people in this town probably have.
He
wood
was
stoves.
distracted by a deer running by and it made him turn wrong and he hit the, I don't know, I'm just saying,
Yes, move along.
I don't think that suggestion's gonna happen.
No. I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay, anything up to 236?
Oh, 236, holy smokes. I like the way you're moving.
About 198?
What's 198, John? I get 198. Oh, the
The
cruiser.
cruiser. I was gonna ask
This
about,
was a discussion that, my
I thought
last
we-
time I was here came up, so I didn't think,
so the cruiser will be an
think-
additional cruiser.
This is the extra?
Don't,
No, well,
This is the
but they're not
replace that fire.
decommissioning one cruiser,
Doesn't this
correct?
come out of the,
Nope, no, not the cruisers.
No, they buy one new
They buy one
cruiser
a
every
year.
year. They're just
don't
not
they have
scrapping
a fund that's,
one.
no,
No, that's ambulance and fire have different
no
funds.
fun for
Yeah.
town has
well, they ought
funds
to
for.
have one.
Maybe they should.
So why are we not scrapping the old cruiser?
They just want to have one extra around.
The selectmen.
It's
I
an
was
old
told they
cruiser.
occasionally have to
Yeah.
use their own.
We usually
personal
scrap
vehicles.
one, we get $5,000 for it.
I don't know.
You
Well,
can use
that's
it to
right. So
tow the
$5,000
lawnmowers you're
talk
gonna use.
talk about it.
But we got the inmates.
I remember Fawn saying that the trade-in value on one would be like $4,300.
Yeah, you're not getting much.
So it's,
This is so much mileage on some.
So now we're gonna keep it as an extra one, and so we lose that revenue, 4,300. Now we have to maintain another vehicle,
Sure,
Yeah, but
sure.
that
and
one
then we
can
have
be
to
used,
insure another vehicle.
I'm not gonna say, but that one can be used for the occasions where, you know, you're just doing like a detail where the car's just going from here to there, and it ain't doing nothing for the day, it ain't
Right.
chasing criminals, it ain't doing nothing, it's just gotta have lights that flash so you can say, hey, there it is.
And I assume if something bad happens and it needs like $8,000 in maintenance, they're just going to say,
Right,
well,
that's-
it's,
we're just talking about it, so that's why I'm like,
Yes.
is it worth that additional cost to maintain and to
Insurance.
insure?
Well, from the one that we
And-
have now, that one that should go away and then still have that extra one, the one that they had, I mean, again, there was water in the back lights, this was broken on it. It wasn't, it was literally the one that they brought where, you know, they weren't doing anything with it. It wasn't the one that's gonna be cruising around town, that's going to calls, that's actually, the one that's actually, you know, an ass in a seat all the time, that's actually there for a work performance. It was the,
reminds me of
many miles
my old truck had water on the lights. I went out there with a drill bit. I'm like, drilled a couple wee holes in there. Watch this square it out. Never happened again.
again, should we, I again,
Has it been discussed to
That being
have
said, the truck eventually fell apart.
a fund, just like fire, I mean, these don't cost as much as fire trucks and obviously are purchased
so it
more
was put in as a
often.
line item because it was something that they replace every year. So the police department, whether it was the old chief, new chief, I don't remember which one it was or whatever it was, thought it should just be automatically put into the budget because they're gonna get one every year.
Because you need one every
Right,
year.
because it wasn't before
And it
that,
wasn't something that was gonna be calculated at a $500,000 piece of equipment where, you know, we put the 50,000 away for 10 years or 75 away. Because we don't wanna be burdened with a $500,000.
Fire truck.
before it was put in as a line item, it used to be a warrant article, but it wasn't every year. It would be like 2 years on, 1 year off, 2 years on, 1 year off, or whatever. And then it got to a point where the PD grew enough that they needed to have a third vehicle or whatever and replace them on a 3-year rotation. And now I think we're on a, what, 4-year rotation?
Yes.
4 or 5.
So they-
Five.
So they stretched it out.
5.
Yep.
So they actually stretched it out.
So this
But
will be
again-
replacing a 5-year-old cruiser? Or a 4-year? Yeah.
Or a 6-year-old with that.
4 to 5, yeah.
So we're holding on to them longer
True.
and using them longer, and we're still just buying one a
3, 4,
year.
5. Yeah, so they, looks like they have 5. This is a couple of years old. It's from CIP. But it just, yeah, it looks like they buy one pretty much. Looked like maybe 1 year they didn't,
Yeah.
but
There was
that,
a year, a
I
few
thought the
years
new
back.
plan
that
like
there
in
was
2020, they
We had
did
to
not.
get 2 like in 1 year because one got totaled or something.
Looking at this plan, again, it looks like, I'm not sure what year this run, maybe 2 years ago CIP. So it looks like one was bought in 18, 19, nothing in 20, 21, 22, 23. This was proposed, so,
There might have been a supply issue in 2020 as well.
right, so, but that it's just continues on every year to buy one. With the expected lifespan,
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
looking at that this is done, and that's when you're buying the next one on a little,
It
steps.
makes sense to have them as a line item, that way there's no, it's just paid for, we're not,
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, she's got a plan, and she wants to stick to this, and I think she's thought it out really well. And I think this should stay as a line item as is too.
they get used. so.
Yeah, you don't have those big purchases that all come at once.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
And there's
You,
so much
you can hold off for years until they all crash home, and it's like, oh boy, you gotta buy
They're
a
just
bunch of them.
Sitting there idling
Idling,
and stuff. Yeah, we have them at work too, our trucks are.
80,000, you know, several people have said to me, well, it's only got 80,000 miles on it. Why
But
is
it's
it
just
getting traded?"
idling,
But
yeah.
it's different miles, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
okay.
So no recommendations on
the
198 then?
Can someone refresh my memory? There was something about the donations going into the pistol permit
Yeah.
line item, which,
I think the suggestion was just to rename it to make it more clear so we don't have to ask about it
because
every
it
year.
sounds like
Yeah.
every man, woman, and child, and cat, and dog has.
It should just be unanticipated revenue and the
Yeah,
revenue,
okay.
and then it should be like,
That's kind of what it was. but it was-
discretionary fund
yeah.
for the
It
budget
was
maybe?
alarming
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
pistol.
Yeah.
Right.
$11,000
exactly.
pistol permits.
Right, no, okay, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, so 197 to
Oh, there we go.
rename.
Oh, it's, oh,
Did the town price out an electric cruiser? Is that a thing yet?
No, we don't want one of those.
You don't want one of those.
Tom.
You don't think the battery will make it 5 years?
No, you know why? We got all electric equipment, FMC loaders that loads the cargo and stuff, and what happens is in the wintertime, it needs, the battery needs to stay warm, so it has its own heater, so use the battery from the heater, they're always dead, no one plugs them in, and, you know.
someday though, maybe.
Technology's not there.
All right.
I do like that
Talk
the
about
town's
electric.
saving money on fuel though.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Talk
With
about
those
the electric
500-gallon tanks.
Yeah, we got a house, they're electric and stuff, you know what I mean? It's, they're going green.
And we'd anticipate that next year our part-time young woman is gonna go full-time.
No,
No? Oh, she's gonna stay part-time?
I don't think that's been discussed whether.
For what?
What?
Our part-time,
Part-time
police
what?
officer?
Officer.
Yeah, sorry.
That might,
When she
whether
graduates.
she
I don't know when she's
goes,
graduating, actually.
whether she might get moved up, but then they might just have somebody just works part-time.
Well, it'd be a shame to lose her, yeah.
Well, she might become a full-time for us, but then somebody might
But
be
we
hired.
just don't know yet.
Somebody might be hired as a part-time. Don't look at her, don't look at her position as, we made a part-time just for her. There's a line item, just have a part-time officer. So whether,
Oh, I got
she's just, her job came in as, right now as part-time. Whether she gets moved up to the full, like if somebody leaves and she becomes full-time.
I got
We
you.
will put it, we will
Right,
find somebody
right.
else part-time that'll be,
Right, I gotcha.
I-
might be a
think
retired
that-
cop, might be somebody that just, I don't know, it's
I didn't think
looking
that,
for
I would
another
just
couple
like her to
extra
stay.
money.
I think she's good.
Yeah, well, hopefully she does. But that's a line item, it's not a personnel.
Anything else up to 236? You go 237 to 286. What were some of Owen's suggestions were?
I don't remember if, I feel like somebody said something about reducing the mowing and vegetation control, but we already did that last year. We knocked it down from 20 to 10, and we confirmed that there were no negative effects of that, no complaints or anything, everything was getting done. And somebody floated the idea of cutting it again. I don't know if that's
Because
really
only
necessary.
32,
3294 was on the
They were
actuals.
really late in starting that though, weren't they?
I think there was something that was wrapping up recently, but
I thought they were still mowing.
who knows if
Yeah,
all
that
the
might come
numbers are
in
in
as
here
more,
either,
but
too.
yeah.
That's part of the problem is
Right.
we don't have
I feel
final
like there's gonna be
expenses.
more money, used actually year to date in that.
I don't necessarily think it needs to be cut anymore. I think we made a responsible cut last year and it's been fine.
Yep.
We floated last time on 264 highway equipment parts that possibly reducing that by another 5,000.
Oh yeah, because it's like a lot of new equipment.
Because we have a newer equipment, our actuals were almost 25,000. And the budget is 40,000. So I have a note of possibly looking at that, maybe decreasing that by 5,000
I think that kind of.
from last time.
Yeah, I like that.
So we have a
264.
brand new truck. We have another truck that's almost brand new, it's not too much old. We have another brand new 350 that we just got. We have a brand new tractor, payload or smaller version, I don't know what you want to call it, whatever. So, and our excavator's only about 5 years old also. So the highway equipment, if you go over and look, it's all really nice.
Yeah,
And it's very, I mean, we're not behind on any equipment there.
right.
In my opinion, you know, due to the fact that we got the old dump truck that we're using, it's over in, at the dump, you know, the old, not the old dump, the old smaller truck that we had, they have it over there just to do little things like this. Is because the age of our fleet is so new, that, again, this is just me, this is not discussing with the board, I'm just being a member right now.
Yeah.
You could probably take 10,000 off that number.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
Five.
Yeah, to reduce that to 30.
Presumably all this
Even-
stuff's warranted too, right?
So, yeah, sure.
Yeah, some
to
of
some
those.
extent, yeah.
All
So
right.
highway
But
equipment
because
parts.
we have, and I only see that right now, it's because we don't, if we had 5-year, 7-year, 8-year-old equipment,
We might be.
we
one
might
of
know
those.
something's
that.
coming.
Right.
Yeah.
Since our equipment's relatively new, and we hope that all our employees are trained well enough that they don't, you know, if some of that repair cost isn't your normal maintenance, it's because
Yeah.
So 30
somebody
would
hit
be
something they
good?
shouldn't hit it.
So reduce it to 30,000 on 264
Yes.
for highway equipment, okay.
We're trying to make numbers that are gonna move. So that's what I'm just throwing
Right,
it out there.
yeah. And I had a note on 263 for the hired equipment plowing. So the 37,250, that's for contractors only, for plowing and sanding, right? Mm-hmm. And that, obviously, a lot was used last year, but because we weren't staffed. And so 37,250 is the reasonable amount to be in that line? For just the contracted, like, small trucks and plowing, and, yeah,
The number is designed and thought of.
that was,
The fact of, if we have 15 snowfalls, which again, you can't say blizzard.
no idea.
Because you're saying anything over 3 inches, you gotta drop a plow on our
Right,
road, so.
yeah.
You hope you take 15 of those, you take the contractor guy that's gonna there in his 10-wheel dump truck and, you know, he's $100-something an hour plus on that time there, or his 2 trucks that we're hiring. It's a safe number, because we
Okay.
have our own to take care of,
Right.
but.
okay, so that,
Well, right, so last year it was budgeted at 75,000. We spent 125.
We ran a bunch of subs, right?
Yeah, because we didn't have the,
Right, but we didn't
Yeah.
have the staff.
yeah.
So I think that was part of that consideration was that we now have, we're staffed appropriately.
But again, you also have to stay in this environment. Today, we are staffed.
Right.
Right.
But
You,
there's
you
money
hope
there.
you hope that next month, 2 of our staff members don't go, well, again, we didn't use the money that's in the salary.
I was gonna
we're
say,
over."
that's when you take the
But again,
salary
it's
line,
just-
because I'm sure that's what paid this
But
125,000.
the private contractor is making a lot more than the individual that works for the town.
Sure.
So
Okay.
compensate that extra in there. Could that item maybe go if you wanna drop to make it,
No,
No, it's just,
I don't think,
That is a big drop even from last year's budget. I mean, it's
I'm just saying if you wanna take off $2,750,
Keep it.
$2,250 to make it an even.
35?
I would feel.
I like even numbers.
I would feel better risking that than the road maintenance money.
Well, so what I'm thinking right now,
We can
for the
get
general discussion here is,
200,000.
this item list we're taking right here. All right? This item list is where the BOS is gonna sit there and say, does this make sense in order to put that 200? So this board doesn't come with if you only come in with $50,000 of guts, that ain't getting you the 200 put back in by us. So that's where I'm trying to say, is when we talk tonight, this 2,500 here, this 10,000 here, I'm trying to help this board with that number to get it, to try to put it back in.
Right.
Great.
I'm actually being,
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
And so, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just trying to do the math, keep some sort of running.
Keep some
total.
running total, that's
Yeah.
it. So,
Do we want to round it down to like 35,000 then?
yeah, 35, drop off 2250 after.
250?
22.
Again, I'm here, but again, it's not my decision, I'm just throwing out it.
So
Nice.
the next line on the
Worth the
top of the,
conversation.
yeah, 266 in the same discussion with that new equipment is the equipment maintenance line. So the other one is parts, and then this is maintenance for repairs, and it's 60,000. And is that a line?
That was, Owen, I think, suggested.
That was, I had
50,000
highlighted,
it was last year.
yeah, I have that highlighted, as well from our last discussion,
And that was,
with a question mark of how much lower it could go.
Maybe that can go to 50. Problem is, we got all this new
50 I
equipment,
like.
what we don't wanna
right,
do.
you wanna maintain it.
You want to,
Not
yes,
maintain it.
right,
Right.
yeah, and that's what, I think the question was,
We took 5,000 off, that's an increase of 5,000 over last year, almost 6. That hopefully would be enough to continue that same maintenance.
Sure.
right, that's what, I don't know if that was fixing, or if that was just regular
yeah, I
maintenance
think
on the
all we have
equipment.
to go off of is the narrative, which says repairs, but with a line like maintenance, you would imagine it's preventative maintenance as well. I don't know if we have a
Included.
breakdown for that.
In the end of the day, the most important thing is that the town operates on the said budget that there is. Whether you gotta move money here or there from one line to another, just because you take 5 off this line here, if that line item does become 60, we'll probably try to hopefully be able to find the 5 somewhere else out of the line item we didn't spend in order to cover that. So it's not like it's not gonna happen,
Yeah.
Right.
But the goal is.
You don't want to
that
skimp on
we
maintenance, you
cannot
know?
go over
Right, the total.
whatever that bottom number eventually comes.
Right, but we wanna make sure that we have the money there for the things that we need to take care of.
Sure. And again, like we put the 200,000 back in, last year we
Right.
didn't spend all the money that was that required for roads due to the rain, due to the issues, and we had like an $80,000 left. So we have that 80,000 that we're gonna blow next year, I'm not gonna blow, we're gonna expenditure onto the, expenditure onto the town roads that we didn't get to spend this year.
So are we on 266 then? We're
266.
recommending a discussion on cutting 5,000. Okay.
And then I also had the note on 270, the sand, gravel, and stone.
So what was that, we're recommending that's 55,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about culverts?
Oh, culverts. Level fund, I don't, is that what the cost is? They only
Well,
spent
we only spent
$1,000?
$1,000 bucks.
I thought we had a lot of culvert problems.
We do, but if we're not,
It's not $4,000 worth of culvert
Maybe-
problems.
No, maybe now that we
let's take,
are fully staffed.
2. Or 2.5.
yeah, let's go to 2.5, so take 2 off.
That's good.
268?
I thought there was some ARPA funds that had to be used 115,000, it's gotta be spent by 2024, bridge aid, or, I thought it was for culverts too.
Well, that could be spent on anything that's infrastructure for the town. So that ARPA money, what we got because of the COVID incident, you know, we can spend that on replacing windows in our buildings, we can spend it on it.
Right.
It's pretty much an open money for us to build infrastructure.
Right, but it's gotta be spent by 2024, so
Sorry.
115,000 has to be spent.
I interrupted somebody on 270.
The
On
268, I think, down to 2,500, so taking 2,000 off that. I think that's what they said. I wrote down.
To get us up to where it is.
Be nice to get the back room cleaned up.
Do you think 270 going down to 50,000? Is that what you're?
270, I don't have any idea what sand, gravel, and stone costs, but, it looks like we spent 45, but I don't know, again, because these are actuals to 12/14, I don't know if more was purchased.
Right, I mean,
Well, if Owen suggested it, he's the road guy, so.
Yeah.
I'll trust
So I
his
don't know
judgment.
if 50 is appropriate, and that's
is that what Owen's
$15,000.
suggestion was?
I think so, yeah, that's what I have in my notes, is Owen suggested we reduce 270 by 5,000.
To what?
Safe, 55?
55 to decrease
Drop
by
it
10.
10, just in case?
I thought that was due to the dirt roads, you know how they have to drop some, keep filling
Oh, yeah,
potholes,
yeah,
or
yeah.
when
And, that's what
they
it's
run the
for, isn't
scraper
it?
for,
I think
yeah.
so.
The gravel?
We have a lot of dirt roads.
Right,
Oh, I know.
right, but,
But the note was, it said there was last year's note that there were increases in, the product amounts, and I believe Owen had said that those have gone down, right, the pricing?
I think so.
Like the per ton, or whatever you buy.
So what do we think?
10?
Minus 10?
Minus 10?
Yeah.
yeah, salt looks pretty reasonable.
John, where's the money for the rental of the, whatever it is, the storage container, over the Flutter Street Highway Department? It's for for the workers? It's $400 trailer?
Oh.
It's like a store, a cargo
Yeah, just buy
storage.
that.
Yeah. We're renting something?
Yeah, they're cheap to
Yeah.
buy.
Where is that? It
Cheaper
looks
to
like
rent to put it there, and it's good for the whole course of the winter for the, I mean, it's basically made for more right now, it's gonna be for, you know, when the guys are winter and they're working 24-hour shifts here, you know, because they're,
they didn't have any place to warm
So
up
what,
food.
it just is rented for the winter time?
well, it might be rented all year round, it depends on the use, depends on the need. It's-
Right, well, that's what I'm asking.
You know, spend, you know, $80,000 in building a whole building or
Or,
rent a.
Yeah,
If they're cool hanging out in a storage container, we can buy one, they're only like 3,000 or 4,000.
No, no, it's
Just a
like an
regular
office one,
No,
like
it's
a
not.
window and the
There's one for
floor
free.
and.
Yeah, there's
It's not like a contact.
it's not.
We're gonna shove a metal box on the outside.
I just thought they were real no frills.
It isn't,
Has
trust
a
me. it
electric
isn't-
fireplace in it.
Luxury.
there's a wood burning wood stove in it?
Better than what
TV
was
with-
there, but.
Are they not allowed to just come over here and hang out? We got a kitchen, like, is this not open in the middle of the night for them?
No, I don't know, it is. I'd imagine it's probably locked.
Well, they
It is
could,
locked.
they
But I
could shovel the driveway and come in here,
access to them.
sit down and take a break.
Is that working out?
Make a
Are you
coffee.
fixing it, or are they-
Can I get a code?
We literally just got it like a month ago, I don't have no idea.
All right.
I think it's for the Cub Scouts, that's fine.
Sure. You guys report back to us. What do you guys think about 274 fuel? We underspent last year by a good bit, and I think fuel prices have gone down.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know diesel's still running around $4 at the gas pump, but do we think we could
Probably take
reasonably
that off.
reduce 10 from that?
Yeah.
It's so scary though, because
I
it
know.
bounces around almost
I know.
irrationally.
Cheaper in the
prices.
winter.
But if you get those tanks, you store it, diesel's safer to store than gas, of course, and then you don't have
That's
to worry
true.
about that.
Yeah.
I play the game, I got 2 tanks too in my house, I was done locking in and locking out.
Yeah.
I fill up once a year and I'm done, see you next year.
So we're saving money on having our own diesel tank and
Yes.
stuff, so we can reduce these lines a little bit.
Usually you top it off
Even
during the
with the same
summertime,
consumption.
you got the home heating stuff,
Yeah.
it goes down,
Right.
you know what I mean?
So we think, what would we like the select board to discuss? Cutting 10? Is that? I mean, it's still 10 grand overfunded.
Right, 10 seems like very reasonable, based on what we're looking at.
What line was that?
So bring it down to 50?
74.
274.
50, exactly, 274.
I thought they were talking about another storage, right, a triple wall one or something.
They were back at Flutter Street?
So,
No,
No?
we got rid of everything that is.
Yeah, but Ellen was talking about putting a cube at Flutter Street.
Well, they're worried about the, next to the stream, I thought, right?
Yeah, I'm worried about it, yeah.
I don't recall any conversation with about a cube over at Flutter Street, so
I do.
unless you have a conversation without me, sure.
No, I was here.
Because all we know is the gas station that we have over at the town pit,
Yeah.
that the police department uses now.
That's the 500 gallon one that they get down.
But
Yeah.
she was, I don't know.
We're saving money on
originally,
fuel.
But yeah, she was talking about put it back, and we brought up a little concern about the ones that have been taken out and being so near the river. Okay, well, it's for another day.
all right, 277, engineering consulting.
Yeah, isn't that we reduced, or
It
that
was-
was
oh.
reduced because we have a highway director that knows how to engineer stuff, I guess?
No,
No?
10,000 is nothing for engineering.
I know, so, but we spent 2,000 last year, I know we didn't have a person. So is the,
So
It's
this
been
line
taken
item, the
down
reason
from
why the
20.
line item was a 20,000, and then the year before, we increased it, as we go back and you look at the ones, is because our old highway director,
He wanted everything engineered.
right,
he wasn't
Right.
gonna touch anything unless it had an engineering.
Yeah.
The new guy, who's working out, again, longevity, don't know. You know, but this is for, you know, a major product, I mean, I wouldn't touch, I mean, again, I don't think it'd be comfortable for that, that's an
I'm
item.
just asking what the plan is, you know. if
There's never a plan, but there's always an engineering project that's
Okay,
gonna come up, that's,
That's, it's just a question.
I mean, you could even think of whether, you know, do you need an engineer to redesign when you take on McCrillis Road, you know, when you go by the river, all the, guardrails, you know? You know, if you're gonna go replace, cause some are bad, some are there, we did replace a bunch, but are you gonna need an engineer to come and redesign those, the bank to make sure it can, I don't know, I mean,
Right, well, that's why I'm asking, because we, you know, we had 20,000, we spent 2, we're down to 10. You know, is that, I'm assuming that somebody made a conscious decision to go to that 10. But I'm just asking.
yeah, I think that was originally cut, it wasn't 20,
Right.
I think the board already cut it to 10.
Right, is that enough cut
So I think
or
this
not,
year that
or
we
what?
already,
Or you just wanna,
it's,
just
you know,
looking?
engineers are not getting any less expensive, so.
No? I'm not-
I thought the
So let's,
library,
we've cut it, they've cut it in half already, so let's leave it
Leave
there.
it.
And
I mean, the real question is like, is $2,000 unusual? Because if it's the usual amount, then we're budgeting 5 times the usual amount. Or what was the spending in previous years, I guess is the question.
Exactly, that makes it, you know, we only get 1 year. It'd be nice to have like 3 years worth of history to look at.
Bob probably has that.
You've been on the board for 3 years, where's your notes?
I have it.
Oh, there you go.
Bob's a good
Listen,
man.
I've been here like 3 years, I can go back to 2021.
He carries them with him. It's
See?
good.
Very good. We're thinking people here.
Mine's sitting at home in a box somewhere.
Yeah.
2021, line, what line was that again?
Uh,
277?
yeah.
It's under the highway department.
Engineering consent.
Yeah, it's in the highway. This year was 277.
Highway engineering, 5,000 in 2021. 2021, actual was 8,600, then 2022 is 20, then actual 2022 is 14,000.
So 10 might be the safe number to keep it the way it
That
is.
was 20.
Yeah, okay, and that's.
This says Lake
That's
Road,
helpful.
though, you know what I mean? Remember all the lake roads and stuff?
None of those were ever surveyed or anything done with it, so I don't know about.
No.
That was because on Highland Ave, our old guy, in order to replace a culvert, he got the whole engineering and then we had to pay for
Oh, that's
The
right.
drainage that goes down, that was,
He spent a lot of money.
yeah, he spent a lot of money on replacing the culvert. That was, been a culvert there for 40 years, but.
Now, I thought the library parking lot's gonna cost more than 20,000 for engineering.
That's in a warrant, wasn't that?
Yeah, that's a warrant.
Those are
That
warrants.
was a weird one where they mixed it with culverts though, so you don't really know how much was each.
I'll give you that one, Tom, sure. I don't know where to go.
Say yes.
No. I've learned that's not the right answer. Don't suck me into that one.
Yes, I think they're gonna plan on paving possibly the lower parking lot at the library with the upper one. I'm just wondering how Marston got paved. I was curious on that one.
Oh, it's probably infrastructure or something.
What, you want to discuss that, or are we just going on the budget?
We're just going.
I mean, anytime you have a question in general, just ask me, you know, but.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's yeah.
9:30, so let's roll through this thing.
Keep going.
Anything else up to 286? According to my rough math, we're at about $70,000.
I was just trying to do the math of the percent of the
We're up how
salaries.
much?
I was curious.
Took off.
We've taken off 70.
Well, it'd be 25%.
I figured from the merit pool, by my math, and I might be wrong, is 4,812.25.
So we've saved 70,000.
Yep, up to now.
Well, we're not saving, because whatever we discuss here, we're gonna try to get it to be pushed back into the.
I understand.
Right, exactly.
We've,
We have prudently adjusted.
that's a good way to say it.
Thank you.
We're looking to save on a warrant article.
So what number are we on?
So we're good up to 286, you think? I think so. Next page, all right, so 287 to 340.
Recycling center.
I had 339. I was cutting 10 out of there. That was for fertilizing. And that was for overseeding and signs. 15,000 would be for the mowing still.
Yep, 339 is the second 335, in case anybody's having a hard time finding it.
It's just no.
How much you're suggesting, Bob? Cutting out of that?
Oh, 10.
10?
If you look that, well, if you looked at price, past, there's 15,000 to mow this field, Foss, and that field.
Yeah.
That was the breakdown they had, 2,000 for signs, 2,000 for emergency. The fertilizer and overseeding made up like $6,000, and the remaining 15,000 was mowing. These two fields, in this field and up there. So if you get rid of the fertilizer, the signs, and overseeding, you don't need to overseed every year, you know what I mean? It shouldn't be in the budget every year.
All right, so I think we could cut, I think I would suggest more, but
But
much
you
is
you
that?
can, well, I mean, unless the town has someone to mow and by zero turn,
But we
you
don't.
can't, right.
we shouldn't plan on
They
that
do
this
any-
year.
Do they spend anything on beach? I know beach maintenance is in that line. Are they doing, is there anything that's really spent for beach maintenance?
I think so.
No, it was,
They
the
kind of regraded
breakdown,
the road and they plucked some rocks out down there and
I feel like that was like on the community day with
Yeah.
people volunteered. I just didn't know if they had to buy, did they put sand or anything on the beach again this year?
We haven't.
Yeah, okay.
It needs it.
Right, I just wasn't sure because it's all lumped in that rec park field beach maintenance line. So I just didn't know if there was ever anything really put at the beach.
so they had a breakdown here, 2021, mowing Marston and Fossfield's 15,000, seeding and fertilizing at Marston, 6,000, signage for all outdoor facilities, 2,000, emergency funds to fix vandalism, broken equipment, 2,000. I don't see anything for beach.
But this, yeah, the signs would have been a one-time purchase,
True.
so.
But in the budget, it's 4,000 every year, I guess, in that 25,000.
for signs.
Vandalism?
Yeah, remember the signs got vandalized down here or something?
Go back here on the walking trail or something.
But why is that in this year's budget?
But that's what, that
Well,
shouldn't
no,
have
no,
been
no, no,
carried.
this is just how it's broken down in 2021. These were the reasons to bump it up to 20, budget 2021 was 12,000. Actual was 11,900, then it went to 22, and then actual was 14,800, then it went to 25. And now we're keeping at 25,000 again.
So I want to say something right now, just, again, from my comments I made earlier
Yeah.
about doing things for the vast amount of people in town, and then, you know, the little. How many kids are actually playing on all these fields? Now, would you say that 1,000 kids, I don't know if there's 1,000 kids in town, I have no idea exactly how the school.
Population.
School's at 500?
I'm not sure we have.
Not a thing that I pay attention to, but I'm just saying, but you think that this is a facility that maybe 500 kids are using? 500, again, I don't know, I'm just saying that. So is there a cost factor because of the amount of people that use it to worth the money that we spend on maintaining it? Again, just a suggestion out there, it's something to say we can cut. But would you take away something, again, we'll go back to saying the roads, you know, and again, I'm trying to help to put it back in, but, I mean, a lot of families use it.
No one's saying we're gonna take anything away, we're just gonna change how it gets paid for. Rather than forcing everyone in town to pay for it out of their property taxes, it could then be paid for out of rec revolving, where people voluntarily contribute money towards a baseball program or maintenance towards
They're
those
just gonna have to
fields.
charge you more money.
Or they
You're gonna have to either charge
volunteer
every taxpayer in town money,
Right,
or you're gonna have
absolutely.
to ask for voluntary payments. So
people
if
that
people
use it.
value it and people really want more baseball fields, then they're gonna voluntarily pay for it.
So this is why Nottingham, if you like using the recycling center, I've always recommended for the last 5 years, and I'll say it again, we should be charging you a one-time fee of $50 to $100 a year to use that facility. Just wanted to throw that out
It's
there.
an interesting suggestion, and I kind of agree with you. The only problem is if you
'Cause
start.
I don't use the dump, but I'm
Right.
paying for it anyway.
But if we start charging for the dump, I worry
once a year for
that
spring
we're gonna
cleanout?
see.
I go there socializing.
Wait, we're gonna get to the dump.
I worry.
We're gonna get there. Let's stay on the.
I'm addressing
We've already passed the
the.
dump.
Can I just finish my statement?
Yes.
If we charge money for the dump and to throw things away, we're gonna see an increase in littering on our roads.
Here,
If we
here,
ask
I
people to
agree.
voluntarily pay for recreation and they don't want to pay for recreation, there are a third of this town is in conservation and state park ownership. There's plenty of opportunities for zero cost outdoor recreation. That's all I'm going to say about
I
that.
never agree with
So-
the thing that people would litter in their own town. I think that's disrespectful.
Well, they already do, and they litter mattresses and tires, which are
Well,
things that
that's-
they have to pay to throw out.
What's the difference? If they're littering now,
Because then they'll litter trash, hard to pick up trash, like bags of trash and little trash.
You go clean up the roads.
I do.
I know, I've been there with you.
the same
You
shit every
see all
year.
the same crap
I
that
don't think
gets
it's charged
thrown
cans.
out.
It's
Again,
beer
move
cans
on.
by and large.
I made my pitch.
Well, my point was, if we ever fertilize and see that these fields down here, besides after it's flooding, or how about the school?
They don't
We
fertilize
see
here,
them
it's
fertilize at the school?
I don't know.
I don't
if
think
they
we do
fertilize at the
either.
school. I think with the
Right.
I think with the wetlands, you can't fertilize here.
That's my point, okay? So for years and years and years and years, we never see them fertilize the school fields or these fields, but now it's an issue if we try to cut seed and fertilizing, those specific fields?
I'm here to open a discussion to say. I
Well,
have-
I'm having a discussion with you.
Yeah, because I have no,
You're like 500, you know?
I have no use for any of the fields in town personally, or the beach in town, or any of this. I never use it, I never going to use it, I have no need for it. So if the budget committee decides that this is where you should cut, again, no skin off my back.
Right, I can say the same thing about
But
the
I'm
lake.
not playing
you know
that
what I
game,
mean?
I'm playing the
I'm
game.
not a lake person, I don't have a house on the lake
Preach for
either.
the other people that want their kids to have a nice field to play on, that want that thing. Are we paying for those people's wants so that they want the nice field for their kids to play on?
And it makes a little
Do
bit of
they
sense.
find it worthy in their tax money to spend the money?
Right, well, we got $65,000 sprinkler system up there, and we paved that parking lot, but the library needs paved their parking lot.
Sure.
Right, but some
So
of that
where's
could have
the
come from
priorities
impact
at?
fees and things like that. That
So
doesn't come
impact
from the
fee
budget.
paid for all that
No,
paving?
I have, no, I didn't
Okay.
say, no, I didn't say that. I'm saying some things that have happened have come from impact fees that were collected specifically for the Marston property.
True.
Okay,
So,
so we're
so
gonna
things
go-
that have happened over there, it's not necessarily
We're gonna
running through this
continue on,
budget.
but.
So let's open
Can I just say
that
one
door.
quick thing about the paving
Sure.
on there? They found the fact that because we paved it and we lined it,
we can maximize the amount of parking spaces so people don't park on the road. Because being unpaved, they found that people,
Don't know how to park.
Pretty well
So,
established.
so where did the
it's a
funding?
one-time.
Yeah,
thing
where the
that
fund,
lasts
so how much was
25
the
years.
funds then, if we want to just keep going in circles?
And it wasn't that much because we were actually paving the road across the street. That was
paving
going out. We
case.
were paving, they were in the area, so
They get by square foot, so.
it was a good deal for the town.
We're looking for a number, not a good deal.
I don't know. I don't know. But I was in full support of it, so.
That's fine.
And probably anyone who lives on Case Road.
I'm
is
just
gonna have
saying-
Property parked.
I thought the library, where
Or,
everybody uses it 24/7, I mean, they can use it all year round. You know, what I mean, might have been a little bit more important to maybe pave that.
Well, I think the plan is too. That's why it was on. That's just requires more engineering.
All right, to get back
Yeah.
to get back to this line, 339, it's not a bad idea that, you know, budgets are tight for everybody. So the people that use the fields can pay a little extra, or they can volunteer their time. Like, if it's important for their kids to be on a well-fertilized field, I don't think it's out of line to ask them to go down and fertilize the field. Whereas if John never uses it, it is out of line to ask him to pay for that. So I don't mind leaning a little more heavily on the volunteers and the people that use these things. I think it makes perfect sense. And we can follow that same logic straight through the dump. If you use the dump, maybe you should pay a little bit more for it.
Everything that we're talking about here is right on TV, so it doesn't matter to me. You want to put the 5 on there and cut the line from 5 to the budget, go for it.
I said 10.
10,
Okay,
15,
perfect.
10? Is there we're just looking for a general consensus to hand it to
What
the-
are we
to
cutting?
BOS.
I don't, you've
We're on
lost-
the second line, 335.
336.
339.
339.
Should be 339.
It's supposed to be
Right.
339.
Rec, park, field, beach, maintenance and mowing. I think we're suggesting that we can cut that from 10 to 15,000 off of that.
Okay, I'll go along.
So if it said mowing is
10,
15,000, that's probably the
10?
majority of what's cost, right? 15,000 for mowing.
Yes.
Mowing, fertilizing.
I would only cut 10 myself.
Yeah.
Because
That's what
of
I was
the
gonna say.
mowing,
If
you
it's
don't
gonna
have-
cost to mow,
Yeah.
I mean, and that includes here, and again, there's other things that happen here, including, you know, concerts and all the other things that happen on these fields here. It's not just,
Right.
you know, athletics.
And again, let's just say as a
So
board,
15
like,
You know,
Yeah.
beach maintenance, that line item there, if I want to, by looking at the rest of the line items under rec,
Yeah, that's what,
that actually might be also the money we pay, which isn't.
no, that has its own,
The stipend
The
for the
stipend
gate
is-
opener?
Yeah,
That's
where's
in the,
that?
that's in the
That's
salaries line.
No, it's not.
It says,
Yeah.
please see
Yeah.
attached memorandum about rec revolving,
Town beach gatekeeper.
gatekeeper stipends added back.
Add it back in.
In the rec salaries.
Rec
line.
salaries.
Oh, it's over there? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Never mind then. Perfect.
So,
So reducing that line 339 to 15 for mowing.
yes.
I'm in agreement with that.
so we also kind of discussed the potential of leaving the salary in the rec revolving fund.
Yes, for the
Right.
assistant director. This is line 334.
So where are we at with all these cuts? We're like at 80,000?
We're at about 80 right now.
Right, so, you know, if you move more of this rec stuff over to the rec revolving fund and encourage them to be self-supporting, that should cover the 200,000. We could get the road maintenance back in.
I'm gonna say this may be unpopular, but I really would like to see the assistant director go into the general fund. One of the most important parts of the rec program is childcare, and that's a huge.
Yeah.
Right,
piece.
well, right, but that's
Really-
the part that's really paid for out of the revolving fund, is all that childcare stuff.
Yeah.
Right, but if they
Or
can't
You're
fund
talking
that,
about increasing it.
if they can't fund that position, then they can't have
Yeah,
the
you won't-
funds.
You won't have
Right,
childcare.
if that, so you can't guarantee someone's salary, like if it's not in the budget, I think it's the guarantee that it's in the budget to then fund the program that is getting the revenue. So if it's, you know, for example, if you're paid in a grant position, year to year, you don't know if you have a job because the grant could go away, right? So I think it's a similar kind of security that is a position that is funded. And then if most of the revenues then allow the rest of the rec program to, you know, be even. Those come in as revenues, but those are, again, you know, talking about salaries and people and, you know, providing, I mean, I think for that is, again,
Well,
it's a
then-
permanent position. It's not, It's not something that's
It's not a
just.
frivolous, like,
right,
oh, we're gonna
extra.
have a Easter egg hunt. I mean, you're talking about
Right.
pretty important stuff that needs to be part of our infrastructure.
But if that's the case, then we should be pulling money out of the rec revolving fund to just, as revenue then.
Yes.
I have no idea how the rec revolving fund is set
I mean,
up to
right,
pay
know-
that. I don't know.
I'm
that.
not sure how,
It's almost a wash, if you think of it
That's-
that way. If rec revolving is kind of paying for this position, it's almost town
Right.
revenue and should be considered as such.
considered as.
I think the concern is, if they're making revenue off of programs, then that money is not taken by the Board of Selectmen in their budget and saying, oh, we have an extra 50,000, we can pay for this, when it was coming from rec programming, and I think that's why it stays in its own fund, because it goes back into just rec programs.
Right, but.
I like
the-
giving them the freedom of having their own fund.
It almost seems like a double dip this way.
Right.
It does, because
It is.
they still have the,
They got an
they
extra
have a revolving
30,000
fund, and
to
then
go
they
in
have
the
the
rec
stuff that they wanna
revolving
put in the
fund.
budget.
Right.
My personal thought is, if you were to ask the taxpayers in town if they want a 37.2% increase on that, and if you put it, say you made a warrant article out of it, that, I think a lot of people would say, we don't need to spend that much.
We're not saying it's not important. Nobody shoot us, rec, we love rec, you guys do a great job.
Well, I did hear one of the members of the BOS saying they could probably double what they charge now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
I didn't
Yeah,
say
but
you
do
said
we
it,
want
that's
to?
why, I didn't say name. I didn't say name. You heard it too.
Not me.
You heard it.
Hold the fort.
Okay.
Last week you were talking about how expensive childcare was for you when your kids were little. We have a real problem with workforce here
Well,
and no childcare.
Yeah, what happened
this
was.
doesn't make childcare less expensive, it just forces you to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Do you want a workforce?
well, that's what we had to do. So my wife had to go part-time. I got a second job and worked overtime to make it happen. I didn't ask Tom to pay for my kids. You know what I mean? He's already paying for the school and everything else. You know what I mean? But we still used it because it
But
was
it could've
still,
been a lot more if
it was
it
still
was
a good,
other ways.
it was still, they raised the rates on us because we were there for years,
Yeah.
right? And I know, it was still a good deal, so I just kept, it was still, I was
get
like,
it.
hey, honey,
But we
it's
don't
still a
have any
good deal.
workers in this whole state. The state is bleeding workers. And there are a lot of women who aren't working, who, could be. Childcare, especially after-school childcare is, hello. It's
Right.
I don't know if we
But
should encourage more
but
people to
it's
pawn
that's
off
being a
their
parent
children.
though. It shouldn't be subsidized by
pawn
the
off your
taxpayer.
children, is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, isn't it great that people take care of their own kids?
Right.
And spend time with them,
For the-
Right.
but
rather
for
than
the
go work if they don't
workforce.
absolutely
Yeah,
have
but how
to?
many of those people are then complaining that they don't have enough money to live? If you stay home.
Right,
and
'cause
take
our
care of
taxes
it's
keep
very
going
hard
up.
to make-
Okay, hang on, we're gonna bring it back here.
Okay, I just
It
can't
almost,
state strongly enough that I
Yeah,
think
no,
it should go into the.
that's fine. We don't have to finish the discussion. I was just trying to bring it back to this. It almost seems like cleaning up the budget to me because their income is like a general expense fund for them and we're paying these salaries. So it's almost like they're pulling out of two different buckets. So I feel like it does clean it up by moving that assistant director back to rec revolving
True. That's
or
30,000.
using rec revolving as town income. I don't think they can have it.
Right, they can't have it both ways.
Yes, so we're kind of, by moving that back, it cleans it up. Or the town has access to the rec revolving fund. I don't think we can,
And if you add everything in, the director, salaries, healthcare, whatever, 401k, is it revenue or is it a negative? You know what I mean? Is it bringing, would it cover everything? You'd have to raise, you know.
Right,
have to look at the
it's only like half
revenues.
the position.
right,
Yeah, half of it is already funded.
right. So
Well,
So right now, you want to throw the
I would love
30,000
that.
back in.
I think it's cleaner on the books
Yeah,
and
okay.
and no programming will be affected.
Okay.
That's kind of my
I
take
think-
on it.
I don't think we'll keep people, but,
Yeah, as I say.
yeah.
Well, it's
You know,
a
that's part about-
suggestion.
Yep.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say, I
Not
very
be-
strongly
yeah.
feel, I disagree with
And
you,
again-
and I very
And I
strongly
think
feel
this is
should
just
go
for
into fund.
the director and assistant director. There's a third
Right,
person
there's
who
a third
fully runs the
person.
aftercare
Right.
program. It is fully funded out of the rec revolving
Right,
fund.
and this salary was too, is covered. And like I said, they were stating that they still raise their prices, it'd still be a good deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
Do
should
we
be
have
easy.
about half of us think that BOS should consider it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they
I
could.
would say so.
Okay, and then if it comes back to us, then we will vote on our meetings on the,
Let's send out these-
yeah, And you can say it again, so nothing's happened yet, so.
And I will.
Good, and that's what we're here for, so that's what we're doing. So we're gonna suggest, what was the final number? 30,000? 720?
To move that piece back to the revolving.
In favor of leaving things the way our budget says, in the presentation that the rec department did, there is really so very much that they do for all our citizens, and that's something to think about.
Yeah.
Well, I think,
Right, but it's still being covered by moving this, it's still covered.
Right,
It's not an
right,
issue.
it's
Right.
not like we're not reducing this
No.
completely. We're
No,
not
we're
moving
making it
everybody's
unstable.
salaries.
But-
You're not making it unstable.
One part back that was there.
Yeah, if nothing increased and they weren't gonna expand it all, I mean, we don't have any council on aging here either, and they provide the only services.
right, I was just gonna
Elderly
say,
people as
so
well.
you're actually then asking the people who are paying for that aftercare to subsidize the programming that's happening in the town.
no, that's a
If-
different line, that's
No.
programming.
No, no,
line.
no, hold on, because this assistant director does the programming for the town, so you're asking rec revolving fund to subsidize the programs that the director and assistant director are offering this town. That's what you're asking when you're having rec revolving fund that is mostly aftercare and summer program to pay for the rest of the programs that are offered that salary for the rest of the year. That's what you're asking for, if this is all in
Including the
rec
free
revolving
dinners for
fund.
seniors,
So
et
all of
cetera.
the programming that the director and assistant director do all year that have nothing to do with the paid programming, right, for children or other programs that they offer, all of the other things, if you put it in rec revolving, then you're asking those people who pay that to
We're not
subsidize.
zeroing this line.
No, what you're saying is to put the assistant director back,
The half of it that got moved in. So
Right.
that still leaves the full-time director and a half,
in a part-time,
half
The
of the
half of the
assistant.
assistant.
but why wouldn't you just want the, okay.
Because the assistant, if most of that job is, like rec revolving type things, it belongs to rec revolving. So.
If somebody's
yes,
serving
we
double
need
duty, it should be 2 lines, I would say, right? If somebody's doing this and this, then there should be
They
this.
can draw
But-
from,
But, yeah, I was gonna say, I
Well, yeah.
I think it's yeah, again, it's a employee and a salary.
okay, well, we will toss it to the board, and then it'll come back to us, and then we'll, yep. So save all your notes, and we will definitely come back to this, it sounds like. Anything else on these 2 pages, up to 340?
Well, I mean, that just, oh, no, next one, 342,
Are we good up to 340?
which Megan had just talked about with rec programs.
342 to 370 then, yep.
Yep, so that one has got an 18.2% increase proposed in here. I mean, they list out some of the more popular events over here, but there's also doing things, I know in the newsletter I see they have a service where they'll come hide Easter eggs at your house. I think we're up against a 4% tax cap, we're trying to keep spending under control, but maybe we don't increase, excuse me, Charlotte, I'd like to finish, maybe we don't increase this line by 18%.
Well,
and I'm
it's
agreeing with
18%,
you. I could do
2,000.
that better than I could put, one of them back in the revolving fund.
Bob, do you have any actuals for previous years on that line?
Rec program?
I'm just curious.
342.
Right, I mean, they keep, it grows because they've added additional programming.
That apparently people want.
342, that's rec advertising, which one it would be?
Rec programs.
Oh, rec programs.
Yeah.
So 2021 budget was 11,000, they used 12. Budget 22 was 11,000, they used 9,500. 2023 is 13,300. They increased it by 20.9% from 2022 to 2023.
No, the budget was 11,000.
Yeah.
I was just curious,
Was
because
it
I was
now?
looking at the actuals for
Yeah,
here, but I'd imagine that there's
I
some
think
holiday
some
stuff
of these are not-
that hasn't
Done.
gone in yet.
So this, yeah, Legacy Leader Program, 55+ luncheons, picnic and Yankee Swap, walking groups, holiday light trip, 2,500. Egg hunt, you've been egged, 800. Town-wide cleanup day, 200. Fishing derby, 15. Community yard sale and plant swap, 300. Parks and Rec month pop-up events, 1,000. Summer concert series, 5,000. Family pumpkin festival and spooky walk, 1,000. Holiday parade and craft workshop, 1,000. That's just what I had. This is the notes they had in 2021.
So it's at the Halloween, brings out 400 people. Going to your numbers of people thing.
So is there a notion or consensus? Do we want to suggest the board consider lowering this, or what do we?
Yeah, I mean,
Opinions?
because one of the board members recommend they can bump the prices up a little bit for some of the activities.
But these are all the activities they don't
These
charge
are
for. These are all of the
General
other
fund,
things that
right?
they offer to everyone
Quote-unquote
Free.
free.
for free.
Oh, okay.
So again, if it's being
They're
funded by
basically
rec.
forcing
More
everybody to buy a
expensive.
ticket.
These things are becoming more
But there's not a ticket.
expensive, and these are the
it's
things
called
that
your
make
property
us a
tax bill.
community. I
yeah.
think
Hang on a sec.
that little blurb that they have next to it
Are the
is
people
a
really
kind of a
using it?
powerful argument for the, leaving the budget alone here.
Are the people really using it?
I think these are things that are community programs that make the town have, community, and reason why people like to
I mean, they
live in a
want to,
town like Nottingham.
The town would
Um,
have community
National night out,
without
so-
government. We
No,
still
I-
have churches and social groups.
Right, so you,
require
so you're
government.
required to be in a religion to have a community?
I
mean,
didn't say that.
But if I don't choose to go to church, doesn't mean I don't want to, but I think some of these are community events, the parade, the things that they put on are offered to bring members of the town to, come together. And again, I think that these things are important.
How is
Whether-
how is
because-
an
He rose
Easter
to
egg
get
hiding
here.
service important?
Listen, I'm not choosing every single program. What I'm saying is what they offer provides people, they have senior citizen, things, they provide a lot of opportunities for people to come together and celebrate different things in this town. I don't choose the programming, I'm just saying that I think that these programs, now, if it's $2,000 and we say 11,000 is your budget, then that's, what it is. I'm just saying that this, I think this programming, is important to lots of different pockets of different people in this community, from
They spend
little
a lot.
children to older,
I just-
seniors.
They spend a lot on the National Night Out as well, and I do think police visibility and interaction with the community is very important. That's a particular interest of mine. And, maybe I wouldn't do all these events either, but they're not without value.
No, I don't think anybody's saying that they're without value, but
Well, money is
All right,
value.
money
so-
is
Society, right?
So what if we took 1,000 off and basically gave them a budget of $1,000 a month?
I could live with that.
yeah. 342.
That's a good compromise.
Yeah, I like that, John.
Because you're right, they need roads to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Yes,
just,
yes,
it
they
was just
do,
a.
they
You're not getting there without any roads.
They used to.
Well, I mean,
You do it
I
in the
agree
old
with John about the dump fees, but I didn't think of, what Tom said, you raise them so high that they start throwing trash everywhere. I
I'm
didn't
open to
think
the
of
No,
idea.
it will.
I
It
do
won't
think we
take
would
much for people.
run into
to
littering
Say,
issues.
I'll have my own
let's
dump in the
focus back where we
backyard,
are.
I'll burn it, my family did
Yeah.
it.
Come on, it's not wrong.
It's
Anything
I thought we were
between,
gonna-
very little for people to decide. to do.
anything
Now,
between
True.
342 and 370.
If they wanted to pay, they would hire the trash services that come to their houses,
Right.
which
True.
some people do. Lots of people do.
I do. It's easy.
There's a large.
No, I don't either, but people do all over town. The people who want to pay for trash removal and services will do that.
Sorry,
The
sorry,
reason they
Sam.
bother to drive all the way to the dump is it's free.
All right.
I have a dumpster halfway down my
No
driveway.
more dump talk. Stop.
No more dump talk, okay.
People can go on to the dump for days. Library. How about this
Library.
library salary? That's a lot. Anything-
Again, I mean, the question is like,
They seem to be doing fine. I know there's reduced hours.
how much is already granted, right? So the real question here is how much of this number is the conversion of the current part-time director position to the full-time position? Because that could be reduced.
It was not a-
versus the pay raises probably have already been given out, it sounds like.
But it was not a conversion. So this budget was based on full-time, everyone full-time last year. I think the only adjustment is hourly staff rates for fair compensation, which sounds like have happened. So,
But didn't Jen tell us that part of that is the conversion to
I
full-time?
thought so.
no, so it's not, it was full-time before. This, last year's budget was full-time. And so,
Well, then why did she say that part of that, she didn't say how much, I asked if it was half, and she just said she didn't know the exact
So, no,
breakdown.
there was a full-time person. There's currently an interim because they could not fill that full-time position.
Right.
So they, I do believe, are looking at a higher
For full-time.
for full-time.
Right.
But not increasing from a part-time to a full-time salary. It's just increasing the full-time salary that they're gonna offer.
Right. They
So
could
instead of
only-
offering 50, they're gonna offer 65 or something, you know, that they're gonna offer more to the full-time person.
Right, they could only find an interim at part-time, they couldn't find a full-time. interim.
She wasn't interested in going
Right.
full-time either,
Right.
because I remember we talked about
She-
that.
that's what they could get.
Right.
For interim.
Well, and it also sounds like the library's doing just fine. We have a part-time director, and we could probably stick with the part-time director.
We don't know, because nobody's had that conversation
Yeah, this is
with
just
her.
an interim. Interims are not,
She's not
there for
necessarily
full-time.
interested
They're
in
there to
being
help.
there for a couple of years even, or whatever.
Right, I mean, that's why I asked her specifically if this interim person was interested in becoming a permanent part-time person. And she didn't have an answer for that, she said, but she did say that she clearly was hired with the idea that she was interim and would stay there while they searched for a full-time person.
Right, that was a great question.
That was, you know, and I got a pretty blunt answer, a pretty straightforward answer, I shouldn't say blunt.
so I think it would be very difficult to then budget for a part-time person when that person probably doesn't really exist.
But they exist right now. They're
Well,
working
no, they're an
right
interim.
now.
So interim means for a short amount of time. So it doesn't mean that they're gonna stay in that role. So if they leave because it's only gonna be a part-time role, then you have to find a magical part-time person if they can't find a person who wants the job. I mean, I don't know the market for part-time librarians, but what I'm saying is you may be tying their hands even more to find someone if you are cutting that budget to a part-time position, is all I'm saying in that. And
But remember,
that this is.
it doesn't just reduce this line, it would reduce our other lines for health insurance and the other
Absolutely.
benefits.
But I've also heard the Board of Selectmen rep here say that that salaries and maintaining employees was the goal of the Board of Selectmen.
Well, and that's what
So
I'm suggesting, is maintaining the employee that we have and the
that
employment
employee
level
is
that
a
we
part,
have.
is interim, and I'm
There's
sure
a
you
lot
know
of
what that word
speculation that
means.
she doesn't want to keep working, but
Right, but when you're hired,
just
people
as easily
who go out
speculate
for,
that she'd love
yes,
to continue working.
and people who go for interim positions are there for a reason, that they do not want the permanent position. So,
Just a big jump.
Just saying, if you want to reduce the budget to get under the tax cap without firing anybody or changing any employment, this is a place where you can do it without making any changes. You keep your current employee at the current rate.
Or you give them,
Our danger
Or you
of
give 'em-
being
you
give them a
program.
percentage.
Yeah, give them a percentage, because they're not in the merit pool, you know what I
Right,
mean?
so you
Give them the
leave some in
3%
there.
that we recommend for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
To make it fair, 3.2 you recommended.
But that's, I'll speak to that right there, is that you're gonna give somebody a 3% raise that's making $15, it's only working 20 hours a week, so they're really only getting
How much?
like $10 a week?
They're making more than that.
Again,
No,
I'm just
that's
throwing
what
out general numbers.
no, she said that's what
Yeah,
they
two of them
make,
are under
Say that
12.
they're in that
under
range.
$12 an hour. That's
She
what they.
said some people were making that. She didn't say the director was making
No,
that.
I'm not saying the director, we're not talking
That's
about the
what
director.
John was
There's
talking about.
5 employees, and it's like
Yeah.
7 total. So it's 5 people that work.
I'm
there.
only talking about the director position.
But the director is not $43,000. That's also giving the other 5 employees extra money to bring them up to a normal, fair pay.
I thought we did that, 12.7% we gave the library last year, okay? Hourly rates for fair compensation, now we now it's 43,000 this year for fair compensation?
To bring up.
But
Is
again,
that what we're getting at? I don't
That's
know. it's just-
director
your
and,
director's probably half that cost right there.
And even though it's not a
Okay,
huge
cut
chunk
in
of this
half.
43,
So it'd be
we don't know what the
compromised.
number is for the benefits. I would
I
guess it's
think we
20,
should leave that
30,000.
particular thing alone.
That's a lot that's a lot of money.
well, is there enough division that we can suggest the Board of Selectmen look at it? So, is there an estimate of how much to reduce this? I'll just split the difference, we'll say 20,000. Is there enough people
Yeah.
think that reducing this by 20,000 is a good idea? Anyone opinionated?
I would be very opposed to that.
No, John, no.
No.
I'd say it's worth a
I'm
conversation.
sorry.
I would
but
like to
that's
know
just
what
me.
the breakdown is.
Tom.
I would like to know what the total cost is of going from our part-time director to a full-time director. And that's whatever money is in this library's salary line, as well as whatever money is in the lines for benefits, like health insurance and retirement and all those things. What is the total cost of converting from our current situation where we have a part-time library director to the proposed solution of having a full-time library director?
Well, the
I can
solution
email Jen
Was
on
the
that.
part-time to get us through. The model is to have the full-time.
Right, but we're operating, right now, currently, we have a part-time library director, and everything is fine at the library. I didn't hear any complaints that the library was not running well.
I guess I wouldn't be opposed to the library trustees or whatever having that conversation with the current interim director to see if they would like to keep it as a long-term part-time director. I think that would be what I would like to see. You know, if that conversation happens and everybody says yay, then great, then we can change this line. But until we do that, I don't want to touch it, because from what I heard today, that she wasn't really interested in being more than a part-time person, and was willing to stay until they hired a full-time person. So.
A part-time person for a limited period of
Right,
time.
right, she is a part-time person for a limited period of time, but helping us out to get to that point where we would have
Where we
a
were.
full-time person again.
I agree. It sounds like something that they can discuss, and maybe they can let us know.
Yeah, I can send Jen an email and ask her about it. And she can come back. I know Jen's super good. She might even come back on the town budget hearing day, so. All right, so we will leave that as is for now, it seems like.
I had a quick question on item 346, rec equipment for walkie-talkies. Should we be buying these? Because it says they need these every year, $1,000 or $1,200. Plus the cell phones they have, 1620 on line 349.
Yeah, walkie-talkies should last more than 1 year.
Yeah, I don't
But
get it.
Huh?
was that the note the previous year? Rec equipment?
I wonder if that's just a-
340, let me see. This is Rec Morrison Property Development. What line is this?
It was,
346. It's called just rec
1,000 was
equipment.
budgeted.
Rec equipment, it had no notes. It was 1,500, 2021, then they went down to only 675 spent. Then it was 1,000, 2022, they only spent 110. Then it's 1,000 proposed, but this one,
I don't think the walkie-talkies was the annual expense.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I think that's just,
I think the 200 is the walkie-talkies. Because it looks like
That-
typically an
that's
annual
budget
expense.
different.
But they added in.
But they added in walkie-talkies.
walkie-talkies.
And then,
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think the second note, this is typically an annual expense to run the department is the 1,000. That's what I'm reading it
Yeah,
as.
that's how I.
Not that they need new walkie-talkies annually.
No, you sure don't.
Right, but here actual 2021, they only spent 675, in 2022, they only spent 110. But every
Yeah,
year it's
right now it
1,000.
shows that they spent zero.
Right.
I can't
So
imagine
maybe
that
that's-
that's truly zero.
No, I don't think it's zero either, but the prior years, like I said, was 675 and 110. I mean,
But we could probably cut,
but it,
we could probably cut the 200 out and tell them to find it in that equipment line someplace. it doesn't sound like they've been spending the full 1,000.
No. Office supplies were,
So we want to, on 346, we want to suggest $200 cut? Consensus, yes, no?
yeah, I mean, what they were spending was 695 and 110, so I don't know, you could probably cut more than that.
They probably cut more than that.
500?
500?
Yep.
Cutting 500 or 500 period?
We said cut 500.
500.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're suggesting the BOS.
So then it becomes 700, right?
Yeah, 700, and that's from last,
Right, if they've only been spending,
No, I just wanted to clarify what we were doing, that's all.
now this registration on line 345, 3,500, is that a one-time only?
No, I think that's gonna be a subscription thing
Online
every
computer
year.
system, $3,500.
And I wonder, when that says
Registration?
expected costs, do we know if they've transitioned to this already? Or is this something that they plan to
Something
subscribe
they would
to?
like to have.
Mentioned it, but I don't remember.
Because that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And so that's where adding something like that into the rec revolving fund makes a lot of sense, because just figure out what that's gonna cost, divide it out, maybe it's an extra 15 cents on every registration fee, but just build it into all that stuff.
That makes
So
sense.
where do you want to cut that to?
Just make it 0 and say it gets paid out of rec revolving.
Oh, 3.
Honestly, I would do the same with the walkie-talkies, the mileage, the training, the telephones, the cell phones, like, they can pay for those things out of the cost of the programs in the rec revolving fund.
That's
They
what rec
can
revolving
very
is
easily
for.
compete with private recreational places because they're getting free office space, free electricity, free facilities. They're operating tax-free. So rolling a few of these overhead costs into the cost of the program is not a big deal.
Hold on, line 345 to 0, you said, so 4,700?
So no office supplies for the rec department?
Well, they can pay for them out of the rec revolving fund.
Or do we just want to take the
But
additional?
again, that's the discussion of,
I'm cool with
not
just
all the
taking the
programs
additional. I just wanna
are
cut the
funded by rec
3,500.
revolving
level
fund.
funded at 1,200?
Yeah.
Or a little increase for extra paper?
Just take the 3,500 out. If they want the registration thing, they'll have to weigh the cost and benefit of it.
well, right, and who knows, there could be some free shareware.
That's my first thought on a lot of these is there an open source thing out there? Even if it's not as good, you get it and start using it, you can make some changes to it and improve it.
Just gotta be careful you have to put kids' data in there.
Yeah.
So before you're entering in all sorts of information about your child. when
I'd
you
be worried
register
about it being
a
online, you know what I
program.
mean? I'd be worried about being
Yeah.
hacked and stuff.
They gotta
What did they
worry
do
about
for
it
years?
still if they're paying for
I
it.
mean,
Well,
there was
no,
a
I'm just
sign-
saying,
there was a
if you
sign
got
we
some
used,
free
there was a
software
sign
off
board,
the
Sign in, sign out.
internet somewhere.
And there was someone on the hook all the time, the
Make
parents
sure
made
it's
sure
not
they signed up,
developed in
they
China.
were on.
Honestly, a lot of times the open source things are more privacy concerned.
Probably.
What do you guys think about library appropriation, line 353? Went up 10%.
So did we do anything with that line 345?
Yes, 3,500.
We reduced
Reduced
it by 3,500.
We took that out?
We suggested the BOS consider 3,500. We can't do anything until the budget's ours on January 9th.
Right.
Can, but it doesn't really matter.
So you're saying
Come back
library
with whatever.
appropriation.
There's no sense in voting on anything.
How much,
It looks like, yeah, I mean, they're just saying things are going up. Vendors advise that costs will go up 10%.
so what do you want to keep at 46? It's been 46
And 46, right, straight through for a
straight
while.
through, yes.
I
yes.
would suggest level funding it.
I would go for either level funding it or making it a 4% increase, but I don't think that we should have a 10, 11% increase when we're at a budget situation.
So line,
So this is all of their budget, so they have their own like mini budget for maintenance and all the thing, because everything is
Yeah.
all in one lumped together?
And I think she gave us a breakdown
Yeah,
at one
before,
point of
yeah,
it.
that's what I think, okay. But, so we
In
don't
here
know which
somewhere.
is which on this, really? Because it says some things actually have gone down.
Yeah.
I thought they had that taken care of, right?
Yeah, they
The
had 25.
sidewalk and stuff, that was like a warrant article, right? That was like, the main thing was like that for a year, remember, it's uneven?
Oh, yeah, those concrete
That and, I forgot to ask her about the elevator,
elevator.
see if it's working.
I don't know. Yeah, they have it all broken down, alarm, cleaning, furniture,
Yeah.
legal, maintenance.
So what really has gone up that they budgeted for?
Museum passes,
Museum pass.
postage increases.
Cleaning.
In future years, I'd like to see this and maybe this and the rec, a little more line item things to see exactly what we're paying.
Well, they give us those.
They have that, yeah.
Yeah, they did supply that. one
Well, they
time.
didn't give us that until I asked for it. I think part of that is like they operate kind of as almost a sub-entity, as we found out, and so they don't legally maybe need to provide us as much detail, so I guess we're happy with what we get. But I agree, we could maybe have a few more than 3 lines,
Right.
but maybe not that much detail. although
Well,
I
no,
like having-
well,
Sounds
I
helpful,
doesn't,
Yeah.
we don't need to know what they pay for toothpaste.
Right, but I also think probably for the town's budget purposes, they just appropriate all of that to the trustees and then they deal with
Yeah.
the
Right,
rest of
okay.
it. So
They-
it's not
they-
all tracking each line in the
So we
budget
don't
like the
track
town
it,
has to.
okay, that's
That's
a good
why it's only
answer.
one line,
That's
I believe.
understandable.
That makes sense. I think you could at least break it out to like building maintenance and purchasing of new books and museum passes and things like that, right? Because those are kind of separate.
We're looking for a catalog system upgrade too.
So was there a consensus on the number that we would recommend cutting?
I don't know, because I don't have that in front of me, I was just wondering if,
What about a 4% increase?
What would that work out to then?
We'll figure that out.
Well, not quite 48.
That'd be $47,897.
Subtracted from 5875.
That would be a reduction in $2,977.
Yeah.
We'll say 50 grand.
Yeah, why don't you just say 50 grand or 51?
Why don't you just make it an even number?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just make it a 50 or 51 total.
Wait,
Wait,
50,
it's
is the total.
5875.
No, make it like
Oh, sorry.
48,
48?
48 total.
So what are we,
Minus 2875.
it's 2875.
Line 364, they threw this mapping in again, Marston, I thought that was all set. Remember we had that issue?
What was that? The
Marston Woods kiosk, remember that was all done already?
Where?
It's,
364.
We pulled it out of the budget last year and they threw it back in this year.
360.
Is that for just,
I think at this point that
Marston
note must be
Woods?
old.
Kiosk?
I thought they had the kiosk. I was just down
Right.
there. And they had the
Definitely
trails
did.
with the
Kiosk
map
and
and.
everything.
Well, they had it last year, which is what.
Yeah, and we took it out of the budget last year, now it's back in the budget this year.
Yeah, so
Why?
what's that in the budget if it's done?
Exactly.
I think that note is just old and stale.
Yeah, but still.
But again, this is one of those things where if
No,
we're paying to
it's-
be a member of SRPC, this should be covered probably.
Well, right, so if we had $100 in there, and $100 is in there, and the same note's there, let's just zero it.
So 364?
Should be zero. This thing's done, right?
Yes.
Kiosk done. Sign it, Little River.
And we should note that any of this stuff, I think almost all of this stuff in this thing here, except maybe like postage and dues, you could pay for out of these Moose Grant things. So you have till September of 2024 to put in a request for funding on that. But it sounds like there's lots of money available. And it's very much appropriate for things like this water testing and maintenance down here, trail development, river sign maintenance.
Why does it cost $250 to maintain a sign?
I think
Well,
they're
that's-
buying new ones.
Right,
I think they're
But-
putting up new ones.
Oh, they're putting, okay.
right, so is that sign done?
I don't believe it is.
No, I don't think it is. Remember that guy came, said they were doing new signs or something, it's like a state
They were putting
protected.
signs up, so.
Maybe it's a thing where they replace one a year or something.
Seems like a lot of money for a sign, but.
So why do we need to have a sign there?
Just let you know what river you're driving over.
I agree, I think we should just
Well,
take
you
it
know,
right out.
that's silly.
It is silly.
Yeah, but I thought you said it's like state protected.
Right, it says state protected.
Yeah, that's
It's
one
like
of those-
so I noticed one over by Dolph Dam Road. This sign was just put up, I don't know, in the last few months or whatever. It's only like this big, and I didn't stop and read it, because you can't read it while you're driving by.
So why do we have to buy it?
Let's not buy it. What
Let's
num-
not buy it.
What number are you on, Sandra?
365.
Thank you, 365.
Minus 250.
Okay, anything else up to number 370? Last page.
That's all stuff that, it's just debt service.
Debt service. We're gonna be out of debt.
We're gonna be out of debt.
Oh, yeah, landfill. That's a good thing.
That's excellent.
Well, it probably wasn't such a good thing that we paid off some of the stuff, because we could have used other funds for it.
We did use other funds for it, didn't we? Didn't we use the proceeds of the sale of the water bottling plant to pay this off, John?
Yes, we used, that's what we used
Hmm.
money for, to pay things off.
I mean, money's
But-
fungible, but I think that was the explanation.
We did it 2 years ago?
Yeah,
I think so.
but like the fire station, when we retired that.
We paid off
we
more
could have
than,
paid, so the fire station, we could have paid for out of,
Impact?
impact fees.
I don't think so, because that was money we owed on the old.
It did pay for a
No.
lot. The interest was killing us. That's the
No.
problem. Even with impact fees, the banks were making the money. You know?
Yeah. So we're,
No one wants to talk about general assistance department or social services?
I'll talk about it if you want.
It's that's $37,000 that we spend to charities.
What line are you on, John?
Talking about the whole two categories.
Well,
306.
so I'll say.
6 to 333.
308 and 309, those used to be, I think, 1,500 or so. And the temporary town administrator wanted to like bump them up to 5,000 or 6,000, and we decided doubling them would be more than sufficient. And apparently it was, because we didn't spend a single dollar out of either of those lines. And I think most of that increase was because we were all in shock of our electric bills and gas prices and everything going up. And that seems to have kind of receded. So, I mean, if we did want to lower anything from this category, if we lowered those to $2,000 each from $3,000 each, that would bring us back to still 500 above where we were the previous year before we bumped them up.
So put those both at a 1,000?
2,000.
Put those both at a 2,000?
Numbers?
The utility.
308 and 309.
General
so
assistance.
minus 1,000 off of each one of those.
Yeah, we raised those based on fears last year that didn't seem to play out.
Fuel assistance,
Has it been used in the past?
we had 1,000 in 2021, 0, 1,000 2022, 0. Then they raised it to 4,000
Don't get used.
proposed, and they
Yeah.
reduced it to 3,000. That was on the fuel.
Do you know what miscellaneous would be on that, general assistance? Seems like most of the, what?
Clothing, if someone had a fire? or
There's just
fire?
so many categories here, I just wondered
Put the
what,
dollar there for a placeholder.
no, in
No.
Oh,
313.
that's medical, sorry.
I'm just wondering, in 313 as well, I was just curious what,
I know, it's- but I think if any welfare coordinator is worth their salt, most of the stuff does get referred to other services, like utility assistance and fuel assistance, doesn't have to come from the town. Unless it's something like if there's a fire and there's an immediate need, but even then the Red Cross comes in, so I don't know.
Right.
I do think this is a little
And the
archaic.
people themselves are very generous too.
Yeah,
So I'm just wondering about 313 as well, if that would go down to,
yeah.
we could take 1,000 off or any of that, I don't know.
Miscellaneous.
That, it's, yeah, it just says miscellaneous, 313.
What is really covered in
At
Right.
least find out what it is.
Well, miscellaneous, if it's not all these other big things, I'm not really sure what.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like people know about these either.
Well, we didn't use hardly any of them, though.
Yeah.
No. If they go to the welfare coordinator, she's gonna, get.
So I just see here, it's just
them.
based on high bills and expected more cases.
I mean, if anything, I guess money could go into mortgage and rent assistance.
Right.
So that I
Yeah.
can see, but the other things, there's plenty of other state and federal aid for.
Programs.
Well, the mortgage and rent assistance, we used more than we budgeted last year, so we certainly don't want to cut it.
No, no, that's what I'm saying, is that that's one area we could bump up, but I think fuel assistance, utilities assistance, that's what you were saying, Tom, right? Those utilities and fuel could be cut?
Yeah, return them to where they were 2 years ago.
Which was 2,000? Or
I don't
one?
remember if it was
How about
1 or
this?
2. I'm
I
fine
think there
with
were-
2.
I
I
think
think
there
2
was-
is responsible.
I think there were 1,500 and then we doubled
Yeah.
it. We doubled it.
15.
So
I,
you wanted to make him, cut him to 2.
I'd like to make a proposal. I don't have a number yet, but other than whatever number we decide, we move to miscellaneous and just leave $1 in each of the other ones as placeholders, and then just decide on a full amount of assistance, and then it could be spent anywhere.
Oh, that's a nice idea, I like that.
I think we should fund it at.
Other than the coordinator, of course.
The coordinator, yeah, we have to leave that.
Yeah,
And then what
leave-
if we
yeah.
left $5,000 in there for just general assistance miscellaneous, and we'll just move everything else to $1? We only spent $2,100 out of that.
So you're gonna take a total budget of $6,700. You should put 5,000, keep 5,000 miscellaneous and kill them all to $1, except for the one, line 306.
Yeah, so it looks like,
So it'd be
the-
$6,700.
Yeah.
So we'll cut that in half.
Does that bring us to a case like where Sandra just asked for more granularity on the library budget? Now our general assistance, the thing is just one line essentially?
Well, right, but that's why you keep track of where you actually spend it.
Right. But it's in the function total, in the
Right,
bonds
it's
to be
the
determined.
function total that really matters. And if it's in miscellaneous, then they're gonna, because they have the discretion to move it wherever anyway.
Because at any given year, the need could be greater in a different area. Just because mortgages and rent assistance seemed to be higher last year, it doesn't mean that suddenly fuel assistance won't be really important this year. And if somebody needs a $700 fuel tank filled
But they
couple,
already
three
have the
times,
leeway.
there's the whole thing gone.
If you had a massive spike in fuel prices or something like that, there'd be more,
Exactly, so
more
you
need for
don't
that.
know where it's going to be spent.
But instead
And
of
you
budgeting
can
for
freely
all of
move it
them.
around anyway, so let's be
Well, what's nice
honest
about this
about it.
is that we get the previous year's actuals, so we can see how much these things are being. If we move everything into miscellaneous, and miscellaneous just is where all the actuals end up, then it's gonna be hard to keep track of things.
No, that's why we want to keep the dollar, so that the expenditure.
Yeah, keep them as placeholders, but I do like the idea of having the flexibility, because trying to gauge where you're gonna use that stuff,
They still have the
Not quite
flexibility,
sure.
right? I mean,
yeah,
It's
probably,
like
I would
anything else,
imagine,
you-
but.
But it's
The
for
bottom
things
line
like
thing.
the only example I can think of is like if there's a fire in a house and if somebody needs a hotel room for a couple of nights, or somebody needs childcare, or they need clothes right away, something like that. I do like the idea of flexibility.
so do we think 5,000 as a total? So for 313, this is what I understand, 313 will become $5,000, and then all the other lines will get $1,
Except for the welfare
306.
coordinator.
except for 306, yes, 306 stays, so that bottom line number becomes $6,700 instead of 12,302.
Can I ask you, John, do they come to
Plus
the
the ones.
Board of Selectmen for this, for these requests, or not at all? This doesn't come to you at all? So that goes through the coordinator But do they?
Some of this stuff here might fall under HIPAA.
Okay, well, that's what, so, but I'm just, to be sure, but that one person, or whoever coordinates that, would know that this whole budget would fall, like, they're not gonna look and be like, there's no money in fuel, so we can't give you any money, right? They would
That's
be
what's
able.
gonna happen.
Is that what would happen?
That's what
Like,
happens.
but that's what I wasn't sure if like
So
one
they
person
wouldn't just
coordinates
take it out
it.
of miscellaneous? They wouldn't know that?
Oh, I'm sure, well,
No,
again,
like-
that's, I mean, that will have to be explained.
I'm very confused
Right,
about
yeah,
but
this.
it's,
exactly.
but is it one person who, that was more my question, one person is handling?
Cheryl, yeah.
Okay, so, they would know that there would be a total of $5,000, Shelley, right?
No, my understanding is that the welfare coordinator is, now I've forgotten her name, she lives in Exeter.
Oh.
What's her name?
I-
I forget. And that really this sort of thing goes through her. And I was looking into this, I'm very confused about this process. And I'm sure Shelley does a lot of referral and all this, but the,
She might be the point of contact.
if you look in our, in the welfare information, it's an unbelievably archaic application process, miles long.
Yeah.
That I think would discourage a lot of people from ever using any of this. But my understanding is the welfare coordinator is maybe getting near retirement age, and that she's done a wonderful job, and I've completely blown off her name. But I think she and Shelley work closely together, but then there's a lot of things about confidentiality and
Right.
all. But I'm sure that they do get sent, they get sent to Lamprey, they get sent to community assistance, they get sent to fuel assistance, SNAP.
Yeah. I just would
Clearly,
hate,
there was flexibility last year because there was only $1,500 in the budget for mortgage and rent assistance, but $2,100 was
they'd
spent.
overspent it, so.
Right, right. So
I guess that was more my question, can they overspend one line?
Yeah.
And they
Oh,
did.
I see. Yeah.
Like, if it's not the Board of Selectmen
And
overseeing
so
it?
you don't really know is it this, the person we're paying $1,700, who I understand works for several towns? I don't think it's Shelley. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
that's-
their tail said
Oh,
it.
yeah,
She's our point of contact, I believe, for,
Right.
if somebody's gonna say, where do I go? They're probably gonna be reaching out to her.
And then
Yeah.
she'd send them to the welfare coordinator.
She's probably gonna direct them to
Yeah,
where they
that's
need
what
to.
I
Yeah.
would assume.
Okay. I just wanna,
And then I don't know how much the welfare coordinator knows about what's in our budget that she could.
I'd hope she would know.
I think she probably gets an idea of this is what the expenditure the town has and what she needs, but,
Do you think so?
well, you can't, she can't just start throwing out money that's not available to you.
No, I'm saying I don't think she uses the money in general, but I think that she refers out to
Other agencies.
other agencies, which is why we don't have to spend a lot of money in town.
Okay.
I think there's some statutory stuff too, that obligations.
That
would
the
have to be
town has
met,
an obligation for general welfare, yeah, I wonder
Yeah.
about that too, if there's.
Yeah.
I think that's what Ellen said.
I think you're right.
I'm sure that's like homeless transportation. It's just
Yeah.
has to be
Right.
Just baked into
provided.
the- right.
And,
So we have to have something, but they don't give us an amount or
Right.
Right.
guidance.
Yep.
I know, I'm very confused about it.
okay. All right.
Any opinions on that bottom line, 333, social services total?
This is the donations one?
All the donations to the town makes.
Right there is what you said the key is, donations.
So just by matter of math.
Well,
we're-
it's the
by my rough
town.
math, we're at like 121,000 is what we've reduced, suggested the BOS looks at. So that would be, that's a lot. It's a lot. Nobody wants to say anything.
What, social services?
Yeah, social services.
Oh, I mean, it's all level funded from last year, except for the one where two entities merged, and are not requesting more money. I mean, if you're gonna move something out to a warrant article, you might move this out to a warrant article rather than the money for a road maintenance project, right?
Yeah.
Do you know these? Are they dollar amounts based on the service they provide?
No.
Or that's whatever they ask?
I've never seen a system like this
To
before, and again, it may be for
33.
New Hampshire, but usually.
316 to
These
332.
places do an RFP every year to the town, and the town has a health and human service grant. These are grants So we don't know unless.
Well, no, we have a bunch of letters. We have all the letters. Did you get
We
a
do,
copy
but
of that?
Yeah, but many of them don't give us any demographics. It's totally up to them. I mean, most places put out an RFP because towns' needs change from year to year. These are all wonderful organizations as far as I know and on the level and all, but, you know, needs change sometimes, or there are new organizations that might really benefit the town. Maybe not. But everywhere else I've ever worked has, you know, has had this process where you actually have to apply, and it's brief, you know, just talking about your services and how many people you've served in that particular town, and maybe their ages, or, you know, keeping confidentiality, but so that you can make some basis, like, are we giving them enough of, because really this is a grant.
Well, we got that, and I looked through it. They're every letter. So some of the places, they'll request the amount, and that's that. They'll just say, you know, the same amount we got last year, it's great.
Right.
Some of the people will say, well, we serve this many people in Rockingham County.
Yeah.
Some people will actually give you
Some people
broken
do.
down numbers for the town of
Most did
Nottingham,
not.
right?
Right, but most did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and I think, didn't Ellen say she was gonna request more detail?
I think so, yeah, I mean, it's probably not the greatest priority right now, I mean, we know these are all good programs, you know,
Are they?
we've known them for a long time. We don't really know what else is out there, well, I don't know.
Well, and
Yeah,
and the
most of them.
assumption is some of that stuff is saving us some of the welfare. money,
Right, well,
too.
like VNA, you would, I don't know, I'd be afraid to put that out to a warrant, although they'd still service us, right, whether we give them money or not.
I just, could it be done in just a set dollar amount and then it's divided like a merit pool? And then that's what we have in a year and, you know, it's divided up against, you know, the,
My
You know, I
general
don't know.
opinion on this was to leave it for this year, because there's so much going on.
right, yeah, I don't know the process
And
at all.
potentially, we could really look very Scroogey, you know.
So it used to be a warrant article.
Did it?
Really?
It's one,
It used to be a warrant article, but when we had, back when we had real town meeting, like, well, but still, that wasn't actually that long ago. I don't remember when this got moved into the budget.
I think it would be confusing, very confusing as a warrant article. Because
It
there's,
kind of
there's,
was.
the whole list of them as a warrant article would be very confusing.
Right, it was, and you have to list everything on the ballot, and then your printing cost goes up.
Paper. You have to list every
Yeah.
agency.
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, because that's some of it was written in our old warrant article.
Well, that
It was
wouldn't
like-
cost 25 grand to write
Right.
a long warrant.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Still, It
too.
was like, but, you know, I mean,
Remember, with
These
that-
are
like
the
anything
ones-
else, a warrant article, you put that all on a warrant article, might not pass, and there's no funding.
Just like the roads.
Just like the road.
right, exactly. It
It's
could,
just, everything's a compromise in some
Yeah.
sort of way, so it's. What do
I
you
think
feel,
that's a
what do
good
you
thing
feel
to
is more
leave where
needed?
it
Would you
is.
compromise on this,
For this
or would you
year.
compromise on the roads?
Just thinking like round numbers wise, by my rough math, we're at about, say, 121. If we were to move this, we'd be around 150.
And then if you took the police department's car, you'd be at 200.
We'd be at 200, or we could just move, you know, instead of having 200 for the roads and warrant, we could just have that 50 for the roads and warrant.
Right, that's thinking
well,
that
if we
too.
don't have any roads, we don't need police cars.
I bet we really need them.
No, we don't pave them and then
We're
those
gonna have
police cars will
horses.
be
You need police.
even
Now
sooner.
remember, the amount is,
There are
we're
towns
not
in Maine that
building
don't
new
have police,
roads.
they have the sheriff's
Just
department.
maintaining.
These smaller towns?
So John, instead of making it between, a dilemma between the roads moving out to a warrant article or the social services moving out to a warrant article, could we make a warrant article then to move the full-time rec salary out to a warrant article and have it worded where, you know, it's, do we vote to appropriate
I
this
don't know.
$113,000 for rec salary in the event that this warrant article
And
fails,
I did
these
social
salaries, Sandra,
services,
please.
Working with families and homes in all the different communities, so I probably know more about
Sandra?
how things are in
Sorry.
Maine
Sandra?
and Hampshire.
Sandra? Sorry. All right.
Sorry, I was losing my train of thought. The warrant article would say, do we vote to appropriate this $113,000 for rec salaries in the event that this warrant article fails and it does not get appropriated out of the property tax for a warrant article, that these positions would be funded out of the rec revolving fund, right? Because then if we're risking something on a warrant article, we're risking what I believe is probably the lowest priority, least impact thing in the town versus things that might be more important or more critical that everybody uses. So if we want to have a discussion about what we want to risk on a warrant article, I think I would be most comfortable risking the rec salaries and the rec department on a warrant
put
article.
people's
And that would
salaries
get
on
I
it.
us,
disagree, because I think we get more benefit, more bang for our buck out of what we get from the rec than we do out of this. This might only service 50 people. The rec service is probably 400, 500 people.
right, but.
Which is our best money is to keep our money.
Right,
in
but
the
if you
rec.
don't have your baseball field mowed, that's not, a disaster, but if you have AIDS.
Right,
or
but
whatever,
someone's
right.
someone's salary, that's not the mowing.
Right, but we have a way to pay for that through the rec revolving fund if it doesn't get appropriated from the warrant article. We don't have our social services revolving fund that could pay for these
I
if the
see what
warrant
you're
article
saying.
funds,
There's a
right?
backup.
The backup
But these
on the
are,
rec thing
this
is
isn't
safe-
funding
is
these
better.
social, this is providing donations to these programs.
That's how they fund their operations, is these
Yeah, but ours
donations.
is a,
The rec department is
Who's
a,
funding those
is a
associations?
But not directly for this
part of our,
services.
of our community, and it needs to be part of this budget.
What is?
The rec department funding.
There's a lot of things that are
salaries.
part of our community. We don't have to force people to pay for them through property taxes.
well, I'll make a suggestion.
So then why are we funding anything to general assistance or social services?
Right, so
I don't know
we,
why.
Don't ask me, I don't need any of the services.
They're in your budget. I mean, why
Well,
why are we? why
Again,
are we
I'm a
doing
single entity out of 5, so. 4.
Well, so
Whatever.
what number are we, what's our dollar amount
I
now?
read all of these letters, and a lot of these, it sounds like we're getting a good return for the amount. I'm not gonna vouch for every one of these. I skimmed all of the letters, but a lot of these places did provide the services that they provide to people in town, or at least in the county. I mean, yeah, some of them just said, I want the same amount from last year, and they didn't give any numbers, but.
so right now we're at about 121. If we were to move this and the police cruiser to Warrant, then we would put the roads nice and tidy.
The 121 is also including moving the rec over.
That already, yeah,
No.
that
Just
does,
that-
that 30,000, half the salary.
That 30,000 in that 100
Yeah.
number?
The half
Right.
the salary. yeah.
Well, again, I'm just saying that
Yes, that's in there.
that's in there, so that's a big,
It's disgusting.
big number.
And that's, so that would be the compromise that rec gave, right? So we've already kind of compromised on rec on that one. Or, well,
No.
so instead of taking quote unquote more from rec and moving it to warrant, we already have, suggested to consider 30,000 from rec to,
Right.
30,000?
yes, so one
We're not
half,
taking anything, because they're asking for a $38,000 increase, a 29.6% increase. So if we remove 30 of that, they're still getting, I don't know, 5 or 6% increase.
okay, so just,
We're not cutting it.
it's just dealing with rough numbers, because I'm
Yep. It's
not
getting
that
late.
smart. It's almost 11 o'clock. So rec we've already reduced their request in this proposed budget, right? So then we're at about 120. So we move 25 from here, and the cruiser, that gets us pretty close to 200. So do we think we should ask the board to consider that, Board of Selectmen?
Not the new
I
cruiser?
wouldn't do the cruiser.
So we do the cruiser, so then if we move this, the social services, then we're at about 150. Which again, we're dealing with compromise, so we got 150 of the roads back into the guaranteed proposed budget. That's not bad.
You could put the other 50 on a warrant.
Well,
Yeah.
isn't there more that goes on the warrant? Didn't it
Because
go
there's
half
already-
and half anyway
There's already
last year?
300, there's already 300
So it
there.
would just be upping the dollar amount
So
that's
we
on
go
the
from
warrant.
300 to 350, right? Is my math right?
See, I came up with like 162,000. Maybe I'm adding wrong too.
I could have added wrong too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what number did you use for the salary percentage?
Yeah.
Or
From the merit
decrease?
pool,
The
I
merit
had like
pool?
4,000.
4,800.
I thought that was low.
I was gonna say, I don't
That's usually around 10,
think that's
10
the
or
math,
so.
I think it's almost
15.
Because it'd be like a quarter,
I took a quarter of the 19,249.
I was looking for the number where it's at. It's almost $2 million.
yeah, it's in my math, which might not be right, 1.9
What do we do?
million
No,
for
yeah, I
salaries.
said around 2
And
million.
4%,
So you were close.
so you're almost like 10,000 in that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm down by 5.
Keep in mind, we could also revisit our discussion on using I always forget if it's unassigned fund balance or whatever we have extra laying around our emergency
Well,
fund.
that's what they're
We
already
could use
using
that to
that.
pay down the
called the
tax
general
rate
fund.
essentially. And that would lower the amount that we have to raise through taxation, so that would get us under the tax cap without having to cut another 50,000 from here.
Except we're just gonna add it back in next year, so that people are gonna see a larger increase.
Yeah, that's
But
like-
maybe next year we don't have like 40-some% for the police
So
and
if you guys
30%
don't,
for
how the
these.
tax system works, right?
Yeah.
For the layman's right now is, every 5 years we do a reval, okay? Now, we're all going into year 2004, because the reval was done in 2000. Your house value, when you look at what the town values house, is only at 70% of, roughly, I don't have the exact numbers, of the true potential 100,000. If we were valuing your house at today's market of the 100,000 mark, you could probably see a 10% increase. So if your house is 400, the town would be valuing your house at 480. Then your tax rate wouldn't be at 22, we'd probably be at 18.
But everybody's gets reevaluated the same year, so the tax base changes, but the
And
amount
again,
that we're
but the
paying stays about the
valuation, but
same.
again, when the valuation goes down and revenues go up, or the expenditures go up, you get the increase in your tax dollar, of your tax rate.
Well, what does that have to do with the amount that we're raising in taxation? That's not tax,
I'm just explaining why we're, people
right, but
understand
the
why
tax
we have
cap
so
is not
much.
based
It's
on
just
the
what it
tax
is.
rate. The tax cap is based on the amount to be raised through taxation. The dollar amount can't go up by 4%.
Well, I was just explaining for the reason why we saw such an increase in our amount for this year. It's the reason why the number changed. The number goes down when everybody gets reevaluated, the per thousand drops. And as the years go on, the numbers go up. As the value of the house stays the same, the value of the dollar sign goes up. That's why.
I mean, has the board discussed paying down the tax rate with some of the money
Yeah,
we have laying
absolutely
around?
not.
We haven't discussed it, or?
No, we haven't. It's
Okay.
absolutely not.
Okay. How much percent of our budget do we have? I know we were going
We
for
are
around
sitting
12.
right at the, basically the 50% mark of where the state considers the high amount to the low amount. Nottingham's right in the middle.
Yeah, we're
right-
12%.
So if we don't, because this year's budget, because of everything we spent and that we did, I don't know if our end of year expenditure might only be like 50,000 left in our budget. So we're just gonna put that towards the general fund because there's not enough money to even make, 80,000 was 10 cents, not even 10 cents per thousand or something.
Yeah,
It wasn't going to make a difference in anybody's amount significantly to.
But it all adds up. You said the school was over $2 and the town was 24 cents. You know, of your tax.
And again, it's,
Well,
you know,
and they said at the school, because the previous year, there had been a large fund balance that was returned. So it offset the rate that year. So even though the budget had gone up a little, you didn't see that increase because
the money that
the
was
full
in.
increase. So when all of that's returned, it offsets, so you look like it's not a big increase. So the next year, when you don't have that return, it seems like an even
Big jump.
larger jump when it's incremental.
It's the same as if we
Right,
took
if you were
a
taking-
500,000 and we dumped it towards buying down our rate this year.
Yeah.
It's gonna bring it down this year, but next year,
Still collecting that much in taxes.
it's gonna jump back up.
Okay.
Are we
So-
done?
So, yeah,
We're
I
very
would
close to
suggest
done.
social services, either we put it all if it's a warrant, or picking a small dollar amount and saying that's what the town of Nottingham provides for our social services, but I don't know.
We're working,
Yeah, we miss you.
John's working on next year. So, is there enough support to ask the BOS to consider moving social services to a warrant? I think it's a
No.
fine idea. No?
No.
Charlotte's maybe?
You
Bob?
can make a note on there and we'll discuss it.
I'm
but-
not sure.
All right, you guys have to
Discuss it, or discuss if there's maybe looking at picking a set dollar amount and that's what we give and divide it amongst the company.
What we did tonight here is just good for you guys as always in general, is that what we're gonna bring this in front of the board and it's gonna say this is what it is. What the board decides to bring back to you.
Yep.
At least you've made notes tonight of exactly where you wanna go, so if you're gonna change what we did,
Right.
you've already
work is-
kind of already
Right,
know.
so this was definitely not a waste of time.
No, this was,
This is a great actually expenditure of time. to
Yeah.
be-
No, that's
I actually
exactly
feel like I
right.
walked out of here and we did something. There's a lot of meetings I walk out very frustrated.
Yeah, we see you.
So I found those numbers I had mentioned the other previous week about how much the rec department is bringing in versus what they're spending.
Oh, I have that
Their
too.
revenues were 220,000,
Oh, yeah.
Their
you're right.
costs were 217,000.
That's correct.
So they're doing real good at that break.
And that's with the 30,000 added in there.
So if they charge just a little bit more, like $1 on every fee, they're gonna make a lot more money and they can start to pay for things like this software registration and
So
walkie-talkies
let's
and
keep
things like
those
that.
ladies by making sure that their salary is permanent. They got some.
Well, there's no better
need for it,
motivator
you know what I
than
mean, there has to
have
be
to
a
support
need
it.
for it, you know what I mean?
There isn't.
It's based upon the number of kids, that's the need.
And they have waiting lists.
Well, you see,
No?
you know, the school, like, we have, like, seven kids.
You're gonna scan it in.
It's like preschool is like 14 and the other has 14, so it's very.
I can
so-
scan
so
it, I
it's
can take it home,
smaller.
scan it.
I'm not saying.
You want a paper copy?
The scan app?
Do you have a scanner at home?
Adobe ScanWorks.
Do you have a
Very
scan
well.
app? There's a scan. They're required.
Adobe ScanWorks.
You know what I'll do?
Yeah, that was a
Yes,
new law.
I'll take my key and I'm gonna put it on Kelly's desk. And I'm gonna say, Kelly, please scan this and send it to all BOS members, so then we have to look at it for our next meeting.
Does anybody else want a
And
photo or
send it
scan of
back.
this before it goes?
Took most of them.
And we'll make sure we send one to you too.
Take a picture of it, yeah, take a picture of it.
Yeah, for anybody.
Back up, back
If you don't
up.
feel like I'm gonna do my job, take a picture.
No, 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 it's not you,
You're freaking money.
it's not you, it's me and technology. It's me and technology.
It's just a
Being
backup.
sarcastic, it's 11 o'clock, let's close the meeting and go home.
Okay, any other, is there, any other business?
In case they get lost.
Is there a motion to
What
adjourn?
is our next meeting?
Motion to adjourn, John Decker, seconded by Sandra. Hang on, before we vote, our next meeting is next week. We're gonna be going over school, Thursday, next week, January 4th, school final proposed budget. And maybe warrants from you guys, Megan, maybe? Cause I think you guys have till the 9th, so maybe, maybe
Maybe,
not.
because we
Okay.
won't see them until we have our meeting on the 3rd.
Okay.
Is when we would see proposed warrants
Okay.
or discuss them, so I don't know. I don't think there's much on ours except for capital reserve funds.
Alright, motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment?
Yes.
Yes. Anybody that wants to stay? Nobody.
John wants to stay.
Thank you guys very much.
At least we know 11 o'clock.